Hello, hello. How are y'all doing tonight? It is time for Dut. What's up? I don't know if you noticed, but we've done some cleaning up. We're going to be adding in some new subscriber icons and everything else, getting this place looking right. I hope you guys like the new stream theme. Everything's a little bit cleaned up, tidier, and tonight is Dut. My mic sounds weird. I see if it's pulling the wrong mic again, which is entirely possible. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. Why does it do that? Okay, audio device. Hey, does that sound better? Good? Better? Yes, no? What's up, y'all? Is that any better? How's it sound? You gotta talk to me here. Don't leave me hanging. Is it better? Okay, I can fix that. Hold on. Is that any better? I'm gonna keep talking till y'all tell me it's better. Oh, hold on. That's my fault. Is that better? For some reason, it cleared all my mic settings when I changed the theme. There we go. Should be sounding a lot better now. Y'all good? Okay, there we go. We got that. Okay, let's see who we got in voice with us. So far, we got Crazy Horse, Corsarius, and a Smallville, and a KBLA. If you want to join us in voice tonight to voice your opinion, all you got to do is jump into the DUT Discord. If you jump into the DUT Discord and jump into a holding tank A, and there is a channel, live voice request, type in what you want to talk about there, and one of the mods will pull you down. It's a little more controlled than my normal stream because it can get kind of hectic on these subjects. People kind of sensitive. Okay? So, I'm going to post the link if you want to join the Discord. If you're not already. Copy. Here we go. Thank you for following. That's the Discord for DUT. It is a separate Discord. It is not my normal Discord. When you join, make sure you read the Discord rules channel, and then in the rule acceptance channel, type in accepted after you have read them. Whether you have read them or not, if you type in accepted, we will hold you to those rules. Make sure you know what you're agreeing to. So let's unmute in Discord and start talking. Hello, people. What's up?
Hey, yeah, not much.
Do y'all like the new theme?
It's good. I quite like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy. I was like, is that new?
I even got an intermission screen. So see, I got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, very cool.
I think my son was just out of his room and very angry because he just slammed his bedroom door.
Fun.
Hey, y'all. So, We have some industry people. We have some other peoples in chat. Remember, guys, the rule of the Discord. So I'm going to say this to you all. I know the guys in voice don't need to be told this, but I'm going to state this very clearly. The DUT rules are very simple. We keep it civil. We keep it respectful. We do not NQ bash. If you want NQ to listen to your feedback, the last thing you want to do is insult them. How often do you listen to people who are insulting you? So show them some common courtesy and respect, and we're going to have a constructive conversation tonight that hopefully will get their ears and they'll listen and see what the player's feedback is. So let's get involved, and don't forget, when they watch, they will be reading the chat in-game, in-stream, because that's all there too, so they'll be able to see all that. So what y'all say in the stream chat is important, okay? So make sure you slap your friends, get them in here, let's do a DUT night, yo. Okay, guys, so we're going to do a different DUT start. I need bail money. You're in the wrong Discord, Fleshbat. We're in DUT Discord.
Hey, you're looking for Drop the Soap Discord?
Okay, Strider, I see you joined the Discord. Make sure you hit the button, go to Discord rules, and then in rule acceptance, type accepted.
Are you still entering Atmo?
Yeah, 9K from you.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, it's going to be one of those nights, huh?
It's gonna be a fun night.
Okay, so the link above that I posted there, the Discord link, that's the DU Think Tank link. We're in there. We're not in my normal Discord. Get your mind out of the dutter. Who's the dutter?
There's no gutters here, man. No gutters.
I see my mods are managing the rule acceptance channel. Atris has accepted the rules before.
Yep.
And he just did again.
And we all try and hit it at the same time.
Okay, so I do have to do one thing, which we just do before, is I gotta pop the channel box out so they can see who's talking. Okay. So guys, give me a second to get this set up. It's a new stream, new theme. So
Oh my lord.
here we go. We're now gonna add that. Window capture. Window capture. That's what I'm looking for.
Should I really put on my camera? This might be bad.
Hello, everybody.
You don't have to, but you can.
Do it.
I'm gonna turn on my camera.
Give me a
I'll turn on
moment.
my camera, but I'm in my underwear. Just
Oh,
be warned.
Oh my!
Oh no.
Hey, Serapis.
Yeah.
I have a warp shuttle to give away if you're willing to do that.
Always. I'm trying to get a camera set up. People can see who's talking.
Yep.
That's so crazy.
Oh, look at that sexy bastard with the blue shirt on.
Oh yeah, there's a Taylor and his sexiness. I'm digging the curl.
Okay.
Goatee.
I
So
like nerds in glasses too.
we have an Atris cage at the top left. We have a Buck Wild. We have a
Let's
Crazy
go.
Horse. We have a Corazarius, a Taylor Bud, an Ancient Decay, a Drac, a KBLA, myself, Smallville, Vampskull, and Zurst.
Hello.
And Drax, thank you for the raid, brother.
Anytime, man.
How was your
It was a
stream
great
tonight?
stream. Great stream. One of
Yeah.
the best streams I've had in a long damn
Awesome.
time. Hanjo hit me big with $180.
Oh.
Ooh. Hello, fellow middle-aged males. Yeah, we need a female in here, but our
That's
our
that.
yeah, and Cedrea is gone for her 3 days, so
Yep, he's going for.
They're like a long-haired female with that big old beard. Part fight.
Taylor gets rid of that little beard he has. He'd be damn close.
There's Corazarius with his wig. He's like, I
Got
got
that little
my hair
baby
for you.
face going on.
okay. So while we're talking tonight, y'all are gonna see me doing stuff around here. Speaking of which, Mr. Buck Wild, you need to accept my barter.
Barter.
Ooh.
I got a barter for you, baby.
It's a big barter.
Hey, Flash, did lose one of your alts?
Yeah,
All right, we're gonna leave him in the holding tank. That way we
I'll
don't
pull
hold
him out.
because it's just free up spaces in here because
We're already 3 over the limit.
yeah.
Enjoy, brother.
Oh, I shall.
Now it is time. As are
I'm
me
supposed to be
too.
a kid, so
Now it's time to do. Okay, what do we got next? What number we got? Number 2, Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse. I'm about to do yours.
I'll be right back,
What?
and then I'll just jump up there and help you. Once I get back, I'll come up and help you do those therapists.
Okay, your
Oh,
blueprint.
I know. I got it now. I was wondering what you were talking about.
Yeah, what are you guys working on?
I'm doing the blueprints, the number blueprints for the Gaia.
Are you doing all the extras with it right now, or are those gonna come later?
No, they're all coming right this second. You get all of it together. So, what do y'all think?
oh, hold on. I'm looking.
The
what, today's
announcement?
announcement?
Yeah, today's announcement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's certainly an announcement.
Not happy.
slap in the face.
Very much so.
I'm scared
Is it-
still.
Because we know there's not going to be any kind of compensation for the schematics we bought.
You know, okay.
They're going from one extreme to the next. I mean, completely wipe out would be a total extreme. They can do this alone.
Now there might still be some kind of compensation for the schematics. You never know what's going to happen with that.
Somebody give like an overview. So if it's someone who didn't read the post or whatever.
Yeah, because anybody got a good understanding of what's going on with it? Because I'm afraid I'll make it sound like a moron.
And let me
Yeah.
pull it up, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote up a quick version earlier. So basically, in a nutshell, they're completely changing how schematics work. So there's going to be no schematics for intermediaries, only for final products. Schematics will be more general, so you'll have things like T1 pure honeycombs and T1 product honeycombs, and that will cover all of your tier 1 honeycombs. And something like large T3 items or extra large T3 items or something like that, and anything that fits under that umbrella, whatever it is, a schematic will apply to any of them equally. But schematics are now consumable items. So basically, there's some sort of time gate system. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. Where you can copy master schematics and you get batches of these usable, like disposable schematics. So it's a certain rate per player, which basically is going to make it more difficult for people to run mega factories, as individuals, because they can only get so many of those batches per character. But they are tradable, they're sellable, so you can buy them on the market, people can sell them, and because they fit in larger umbrellas like that, you're not going to run into the same situation that you have now where it's like, oh, I need specifically my silicon honeycomb schematic. You can just get the broader items, which I think will probably help with getting them on the marketplace because there's going to be less of them basically. You don't have to get the super specific piece. What else was there? There's probably going to be talents to increase the copying capacity, but they're not going to be available on the launch of the feature. So we're going to be dealing with this feature before there's any talents that let us spec into it to make it easier. And they said it will be very soon. There is a 4-hour maintenance schedule for tomorrow, but I don't think it'll be tomorrow because, personally, this is just my thoughts. Because they said there's going to be an Ask Ophelia to give us details about it on Friday. So I don't think it'll come until after Friday, but I do highly suspect probably next week. But that's supposition.
Can I further distill that?
What was that?
Can I further distill that?
Be right back.
Yeah.
So, like you said, schematics will be consumable. There will be a screen where you queue up those schematics to be generated with quanta and time. And like you said, schematics will apply to size and rarity possibly even the category, but we don't know. So schematics can be applied to several different items, and they will only apply to finished products. Intermediary products will not have schematics.
Also, they did say that a schematic can have up to 25 uses depending on what the schematic
No,
is.
no. That's a misconception. The
It
article
said that-
states that you can produce a number of schematics per queue, and those schematics can produce a number of items, but they can only be used once.
Yeah, basically
Hold
you're
on.
you're buying / training for a batch of
The way I
schematics.
read it was
And so-
like for the T1, the lower tiers.
Yeah.
If it's like the honeycomb, you can produce more honeycomb per batch of a single schematic as opposed to T3 or T4. It's gonna be based on the tiers as to how much production. Now, on the final products, I doubt you're going to be able to make 10 or 20 T1 engines off a single schematic.
So you can produce a batch of schematics. The schematics can produce a batch of items depending on the item, but the schematic itself can only be used once. But you can put as many schematics as you want into the industry unit so that it can produce that many
Okay.
runs.
Hold on one second, guys. Pazar, if you are still there and watching, we are in the DUT Discord. That is the link for that Discord. Make sure you're in there. Jump into the holding tank in there. She's setting the holding tank in XVX.
You have to pay to make these copies.
They haven't released any
I'll get better.
details on how many schematics per day.
Yeah, no, we don't know yet.
Hey, Buck, did I give you the other blueprints?
Yeah, you give me 5 total.
Okay.
I mean, we can expect different schematics to take different times to generate, to copy, as they say, and to cost different amounts.
It does seem likely, yeah. Like I suspect that we'll probably end up in situations where the timeline is different. Like maybe it'll be like an hour to get a batch of T1 honeycomb, but like 2 days to get a T5 exotic item or something, you know?
And I don't like how they say master copies, because there are no master copies. There is a screen that
Yeah.
you copy, that you generate those consumable schematics
The
from. No
master
players will
copy is
actually
what's
have.
held. Yeah, what's that master copy is what's held by Ophelia. You're,
Yeah,
you're
that-
copying from the game's master copy.
Yeah. So there is no actual technical master copy. That's just a concept that
Right.
explains where you're copying them from. That's basically lore. There's not an actual
Basically,
item.
it's basically the VPN lockdown that you're allowed to access and copy from. Basically.
Yeah. Sagacious
Which
also
I'm
pointed
not real,
out
I'm not real
in-
keen on that. I kind of like the idea of people being able to buy a single and then copying from that. That kind of keeps people from having to buy so many. And what I really am not on board with, I don't think, is the final product. If it's a large tier 3 engine or a large tier 3 product, I don't think that single schematic should be able to make a space engine, an atmospheric engine, or a vertical booster at the same time. That makes no sense to me that a single schematic produces 3 different items. That's not realistic.
Logistically, I understand your point there, but functionally, for in-game purposes, like I said before, like it means that people will be able to create and then sell their schematic copies, their disposable schematics, on the marketplace without it having to be a super niche market. Like I don't have to be. I can go and just generate a schematic and put it up on the marketplace, and I know someone's going to buy it because something that they're going to want to make is going to fit in that category.
I get
Like if
that.
I go now and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get some calcium honeycomb or whatever, and then just nobody wants to make calcium honeycomb, then it
Well,
just
no, I'm not
it's
talking about for the honeycomb. That's fine. Make one for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3,
an
whatever.
extreme example, but yeah.
But when it comes to the finished product, there is no realistic thing you can show me that a single blueprint or schematic can make a space engine and an atmospheric engine and a vertical booster. And when you step down to T1, now you've got a single large schematic that is going to make large stabs, large atmos, large space.
Well, we
this,
don't.
that, and the
They
other.
haven't specifically said just how generic it will be yet. I don't know.
Hopefully they break it down into the groups of atmospheric engines, space engines, because they're already going to have to add an XL for the XL space, so that one's going to stand off by itself anyway.
Now, what did Sagacious say?
Right. Yes. Sorry. Sagacia said that the biggest problem that we're going to have is consistently loading schematics into the machines. which I totally agree with. Any large factory, we're gonna have, it's gonna be a lot of work just to keep your schematics loaded, because unlike with the actual supplies, like in a lot of cases, you'll be going just from ores or pures or whatever, and it will just move down the line. So you can just insert your stuff on one end, and it will move it all down the line. The schematics, that's not going to be the case. You're going to have to go to each individual machine to give it the schematic. Which at least it's only the end products, so at least you're only going to the end, not having to find them in the middle, basically. But depending on how you designed your whole factory, that might be very difficult.
This would be the perfect opportunity for them to make a standalone schematic storage to where all your schematics are in there. You go to each machine, it can view that storage, and you select from the machine what you want to cook. You're not physically dragging and dropping a schematic into that machine.
Yeah, or even like something.
Select it from a pull-down list. I mean, if they're going to make one schematic, make everything in tier 1, or 5 schematics, make everything in tier 1. Just give me a drop-down list. Do I want to make a large engine? Do I want to make a large wing? Do I want to make a large aileron? What do I want to make? I don't want to have to drag and drop the schematic in there.
In theory, it's all data transfer. Like gameplay, though, right? Like right now, you put a schematic in.
One second.
6 months, you know, and I didn't have
I'm gonna be muted for a second, so keep an eye on the stream chat, guys. I gotta do a child issue.
Yep.
But they'll still able to hear y'all.
My biggest thing though is it just turned the game into a huge alt to win now, or it will turn it.
Yeah, it's really going to open the door for all.
It allows everybody. That gives an extra source of income for any other player, because any player can queue those schematics to be copied, and then they can turn around and sell them on the market.
Yes, true. But now for somebody like me who has 15 accounts, I can do 15 times the amount that Corsarius can.
Right.
Well, I have 5, so only 3 times.
But that's my point.
I have 13, so
me and you can
plenty of them queued up. I can still run a large factory at that point as a solo player. It's not going to alleviate the mega factories, large factories that a lot of people have, because people like me.
I don't think that's what Enki's goal is.
Has multiple accounts. I think they're trying to slow things down a little bit, but they're going about it in the wrong approach, in my opinion. This is not going to slow it down for people who are wanting to do it. Gotchar, myself, Taylor. If we want to run a mega factory, we still can.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, in voice chat, I'm going to say, just make sure you guys are remembering this. Y'all are not the only people in the conversation. We have to make sure we include people in text chat as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So keep in mind what's going on.
The system it's built to combat the critique that in industry you just set it and forget it, and it just cooks forever. Well, until the game breaks and you have to relink or whatever.
Neuropucks, that's what we're hoping, is that we can possibly pull schematics from a container of some sort, so that we can maybe feed multiple industry units from the same container, and just like dump a bunch of schematics into it.
I mean, if their goal is to simplify the process and reduce the amount of schematics having to buy, let's just go ahead and fully simplify the process and give us a single point for all schematic storage, and you pick from a drop down at the machine what you want to make, and as long as that schematic is in the schematic bank, it will pull it on its own or read from it and do it.
One of the concerns a lot of people have brought up is being able to deposit schematics from multiple characters. Maybe have somebody come in and be like, oh, we need this many schematics, and they would submit those schematics even if they're not the factory owner, so that you can source schematics.
You can give anybody rights to drop items into a container. That's easy to do.
But the simplicity of being able to drop items in a container and then having those machines pull from it instead of having to go to each machine.
Right.
Especially since you're having to, babysit those machines now, a lot more now than before.
Are you sure that this isn't to annoy the mega factory individuals, so then it makes it so multiple people have to operate the factory rather than one individual?
Well, I'm sure that's the goal.
Part of it is that I'm sure to bring more people into the play.
Because it is an annoyance factor, big time.
Let's think about it. The system's already in place for schematics to be in the machine. They have multiple slots to fit schematics. So it'd be less time to code to do it the way with put in container. I bet you're going to have to put them in every single machine.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
for
definitely the way it's
Bearded
gonna work.
Trash
We're
Panda,
gonna
thank you
leave
for the
that
follow.
Exactly the way it is. They're just changing the way schematics work in general.
Mhm.
You're not going to have master copies anymore. You're going to go to one of their affiliate locations. That's the point. You're not going to do that from your base. I don't think. You're going to have
No,
to
you're
go
gonna have to.
somewhere, and set up a queue to copy however many you can copy per day, per character, per week, per whatever it is you can do. And go pick those up when they're done. Take them back to your base, and it's going to be a constant hands-on because if say one T1 honeycomb schematic will give you 100 liters of honeycomb, you're going to be running back and forth with schematics forever.
And I guarantee each of those schematics will have to fit, go inside the machine. So you're going to have to evenly proportion out between your machines. It'd be great if you could go in a container.
That's why I say this would be a perfect opportunity for them to put a central point location for those schematics, because people like Honeycomb Central, they're going to want to try to keep their business going, making honeycomb for everybody. So they're going to have somebody all day, every day, loading schematics into the machine because, you know.
Does that sound like a role though? It's like one of the often complaints in DU is like there's no jobs, there's no specification. If you do industry, you set it up and then you just put an ore in. Like now, you actually, to play the game, you actually have stuff to do every day.
Yeah, that's the point.
Like not just log in and queue up what the next batches are going to be, but you actually have to fiddle with your machines.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, but that makes more work for the situation. There's one of the biggest pliable parts about having a big factory like I have, or anybody's org lately, is they can just set it and forget it and keep going about their day and doing other things. Now you got to maintain all these machines depending on how many schematics and machines you have running.
Yeah, I
think they want that.
that's the
though.
point. Yeah.
The point is to create like classes, like roles, like an RPG. If you're an industry guy, you're specialized in industry. You can't just do everything, which means when you log into the game today, you have a shitload of stuff to do related to industry.
But the problem with that is we don't have the groups anymore. I don't know about everyone else, but yeah, a lot of our groups, this is one reason a lot of us hang out in XVX, is because a lot of our groups have dwindled to onesie twosies.
That's why I don't foresee this until after release. That way, if they're at that point, it will probably be a wipe. Let's be honest, and then what we'll do is we'll be able to rejoin, and most likely a group like XVX will probably be big.
Because they're putting. I hope they don't do the wipe. If they're going the way they're going right now, with just the way they're going right now, changing this up.
I might have broke the rules. I mentioned W word.
Sorry.
Let's try not to dive too deep into what.
Okay, hold on. Metallica says I'd honestly like to see them put a bit more effort in. They are a one-trick pony. All they are doing is changing everything to be the same. Click and wait.
Yep.
How about
That's
some
actual gameplay? You have to log in and get your little schematic and run over and put it in your machine.
And you have to source those schematics because you can't produce all the schematics you need on your own, especially if you have a larger factory. So you have to interact with the players through the market or directly to obtain those schematics.
It's going to severely hamper how many products as an individual, even with alts, that you can produce, because think fuel. How much fuel is one schematic copy going to make? 100 liters, 1,000 liters?
I mean, on the other hand, with something like fuel, you can just do a bunch. Like you can just buy a boatload, right? Like you can. They're data items. I'm assuming you can load as many schematics in as you want. You can just load 4,000 of them in there and not worry about it.
You're going to have people producing those, but still, it's the amount of how much is one schematic going to make of fuel or honeycomb?
Yeah.
How many schematic copies are they going to make us have to keep?
One of the biggest complaints about the game right now is there's too much of everything.
Right.
So this is like tick number one of now there's just going to be less stuff.
Instead of turning on element destruction and getting rid of a lot of the crap that we have, let's just do this and slow it down. It still doesn't get rid of the stuff we already have.
Yeah, but what is it going to do to the ore cost? Because now all these factories are slowing down. Ore is going to pile in because mining units keep going. Ore is going to even drop worse than it is. Your T1 ore at the end of the day is going to be the only thing worth anything because you have bots.
Right.
This is going to crash the economy again.
Not only that, but you always pass the schematic cost, like in the current system, on the consumer, right? Like your favorite day as an industry guy is the day you finally sold enough of that item to pay off the schematic, because now in your mind it's all pure profit. Now every time you make an item, there's a
You're having to
schematic
pass that
cost.
cost.
Yep.
I'm sure it's not going to be astronomical. They're not going to charge, hundreds of millions for a copy of an
Maybe
exotic
for a warp
large
beacon.
Yeah,
Well,
Warp
I don't
Beacon's
think it's
gonna
going to be
cost you
100 million. I mean, it could be a few million for a copy.
Yeah.
But that
And how
copy's
long
only going to
that's-
make one.
that schematic takes. If it takes a week to produce that
I think
one
I'll wear it
copy
well.
of the warp beacon, it's gonna. You see what plasma did.
I also want to jump back to something, I don't know how you pronounce that name, sorry if I butcher this, but Anrad said, which is just to keep in mind that we're all talking about mega factories here and the impact it's going to have on mega factories. But one of the big selling points of this is that it actually will allow people to make, at least that's the point, is that they're going to allow people to make smaller factories and have them actually be functional and usable. Because like right now as it is, they sort of went from one extreme to another in the introduction of schematics in the first place, and that everyone was just building a factory to build whatever few pieces they needed, and that was fine beforehand. And now we're on the opposite end where you need to invest so much money in schematics that you can't afford to build your own factory to build small pieces, or to build just a small batch of pieces. Whereas this will allow that again, where if you just need 5 of an item, you just get 5 of the schematics and you make it.
And I agree on that point, but I mean, the reason, and this is something else you guys all have to realize too, the reason why items, and besides players undercutting each other, but another big reason why items became more affordable is because mega factories produce so much. I mean, yeah, it killed the market, but it also helped some of those people who couldn't afford some of those.
But we can't make it to where things go stupid expensive again because.
Hey, Fox Octo, thank you for the raid, brother.
How are people who don't do factories, how are non-indie going to make any substantial amount of money if they're only a single character? It's still going to limit what a single player can do because it's going to drive ore costs down, but part prices are going to go up because viewers being produced.
Like Opus just said, we were talking about Honeycomb Central recently. Well, you could see people actually having an intermediate part shop, right? Where you just buy the parts, you throw them in your machine with a schematic, and then your actual factory size goes from a whole line of stuff to just straight up the end machine and a box with all the parts and the schematic.
Right.
Yeah, I suspect that what we'll see a lot of mega factories converting to mega intermediary factories. So we'll have people who build a mega factory that builds every intermediary under the sun, and then they sell those. And then people will build small scale factories to build their own end products. I mean, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I suspect that's a goal.
They say intermediary parts like that aren't going to have the schematics, only the final parts. So are they going to do one electronics schematic that does all the operators, programming boards, data banks, emitters, receivers?
Yeah.
But see, I mean, and to me, I'm not going to say there's an immense amount of realism in this game because it is a sci-fi fantasy game, but it breaks the reality that a single schematic can make so many things.
There's got to be a balance There's always has to be a balance between the gameplay and the reality.
You make a schematic for operators. You make a schematic for programming.
I mean, to me, realism has been blown so far out the window with our 30,000 km/h speed cap that I am just beyond caring about reality.
Not everything.
I get that. I really do. But you gotta try to keep some element of realism to the game. I mean,
can I make a comment? And this is.
Have you finished this?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
This is gonna sound mean, but everybody who's built a super factory, pretty much everybody in this group that has a super factory and has the mass, you are forcing NQ's hand to try to implement these things to balance it out to create a market because y'all are the ones preventing a market from being created. A balanced market.
I don't have a super factory and I've never wanted one. It's I don't know. I guess in a way it's going to make it easier for the average player to come in and make parts, but that player's still going to have to go and get schematic copies to make an engine. There again, how many days is it going to take to get schematic to make one advanced military large Atma? And then how many are you going to be able to, whenever they load those in, and then how many schematics are you going to be allowed at one time? So if you're trying to build a ship that has 40 advanced large Atmos, how long is it going to take you to get the schematics together for that?
Who was it that asked if I finished the ship?
Me.
Other than if you're trying to avoid buying those schematics from somebody who's copying them and selling them, how long is it going to take the average player to accumulate 40 schematic copies to make 40 large Atmos to build a ship?
One more question. Who is me?
Oh, Cage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't add too much more to it because of element count and weight. Right now, it can lift, without using the rockets, 32, 34 kilotons off Alioth. With the rockets, around 62 with good seals.
There's already multiple examples now where newer players don't have the correct talents, so they're being like extremely inefficient. And then you mix that with the mindset of, well, I mined this ore, so it was all free or whatever. You know, that's an example of that. But like, if the newer player just wants to build their own stuff, it doesn't matter how ineffective they're being. But like players like us that play a lot, you're going to want to be like min-max effective with everything that you're doing. So you may not spend all the talents in a bunch of stuff you're not going to produce, but you might go, hey, Drax, you do these, I'll do these, right? And then we can do that together.
Yeah, and that's are they going, being that they're changing this up, how much of the industry talent points are going to get refunded again because of what's changing with schematics?
Crazy Horse, come get your blueprints, and Taylor, you can head this way too when you're ready.
My talent points are definitely prone to only what I use and make. Like right now, the most things I actually make is like advanced engines and maybe advanced optimized containers. I don't really focus on anything else. I focus on a few minor things that give me a passive income. That's about as far as I go. The only other factory I run is the old org factory, but it's still being fed by me. So
my other thing too is they just did a talent point wipe.
Yeah.
And had us do all this, and now they're doing something else that's going to affect affecting how we would have put our talents.
Exactly.
Not really that much so, because if you
it to me, because I would change a lot of what I spent on.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done as many factory characters as I did, because if this is what they're doing to it, there's no point.
Well, it's beta, right? Stuff like that's going to happen, and they need to decide whether or not they're going to do a refund for industry. But at the end of the day, I think they want group play. I mean, that seems like a more like systemic, like umbrella philosophy, is that they don't want you to have a massive mega factory as a solo player. Will players buy a bunch of extra accounts and will NQ be happy with that?
It's still going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. But
it's still
they don't want the game itself to promote that play. They want you to be in an org with people that you can chat with in game and in Discord, and be like, okay, well, you have a job now. They actually want you to have a job, which is not like we play 8 or 16 or 20 hours a day. They want you to log in a couple hours a day and have a job to do.
Again, though, I go back to the problem of we don't have that player base.
It doesn't matter. All of the systems that NQ has released are not meant for the very few amount of people that play the game, right? They're not building the game for a small group. They have to build it for a large group and then /prey.
Yeah, realistically, they're not building it, not even just for a small group, but they're not even really building it for us. I don't mean to be too cynical about that. But like,
new player base.
Yeah, we represent such a small portion of what this game wants and needs to continue.
It's been that way with every major MMO. I mean, your beta player base, while it might be large, or your alpha player base might be large, doesn't represent the people who are going to be playing that game once it goes live, or even in a year or two.
Yes.
You know, and unfortunately, that's a realistic point of view that the devs have to look at. You know, the only people that have any kind of effect on it are the people that are making content that other players are going to see and be like, maybe I don't want to mess with that game.
Well, game can't even support us, and they're making these big changes to support global playerization.
They can't tailor the game just to its current player base. I get that. That's not what I meant by the comment. They're gearing for a newer player base. They want to attract new players, but they also would like to keep the ones that have stuck with them through alpha and beta.
Okay, somebody help me. Did I put that 6 backwards?
No, it's good.
Okay. Trippin', this is the Gaia. This is my new Elcor I designed.
By the way, your stream froze with the cameras.
Oh, that's because I clicked on the button. Hold on.
Yeah, I was just letting you
There we go.
Not saying, you know, the job is picking up rocks. Like, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that auto miners provide you with a passive income. It's not the same income that we were used to, but this could also provide you with a passive income, just like calibration charges you don't use could be a passive income. So I'm not an industry guy. I don't have multiple accounts. It's just me, one account, right? But I log in every day. I go do my calibrations. I pick up my little ores or whatever, or go calibrate somebody else's machines. I start the, you know, queue for the schematics that are selling really well right now because, you know, everybody wants X schematic. And then I go post those on the market, you know, then I fly back home, maybe do a little building, and then I'm done for the day.
I think they're also hoping that people will do missions again, right? Like that as we develop and get these factories going where people won't necessarily have intermediaries, that people will be putting up missions for people to bring them intermediaries or to bring them schematics so that the factory operators never have to leave their base. They can just make a mission for people to drop stuff off.
That's an interesting
And that's
point.
what we were hitting on earlier. You were talking about you log in, you do your calibrations, and you go about and do whatever else you're going to do. The problem with that now is going to be there's so many people with mining units. There's so much ore out there. The production cost of the production is going to slow greatly by dampening the mega factories. I'm not trying to save mega factories. Don't take me wrong.
Let's just imagine a world. Okay, let's tinfoil hats, everybody, where they are wiping this game, because then that problem doesn't exist, because there aren't even mining units in the game, right?
But it's still given 6 months to 8 months down the road in that game, you're going to have an overload.
Yeah, even if they do wipe, we'll end up back in the same situation.
If they don't balance the machines, if they don't balance the auto miners to come in line with the slowdown in the production times, then you're going to have an overload of ore, and ore is going to become absolutely worthless. Your market's still going to be screwed. Either way you look at it, the market's going to be screwed.
It'll start high and then it'll just drop, right? Like it did.
I give it 8 months or less after the wipe. If they don't balance auto miners to come in line with the change to the factories.
Like, I don't know if anyone remembers, but gold, like you used to be, if you had a gold space station or whatever, you were well off.
Yeah, now gold is worthless.
I mean, when they first introduced the auto miners, I went out hunting and I got myself 36 tiles that had cobaltite on them, because at the time it was going for 2,000 quanta per liter.
Now it's going for what?
Yeah. 20.
Yeah, I can sell tier 1 or higher than I can sell tier 4.
Before the auto miners came out, people were like, there's not going to be any ore to support this, that, and the other. And a lot of us were back there saying, y'all don't seem to understand just how much ore is going to come out of this. Because you're running these things, you're going to have so many people running so many of them 24/7, just constantly pushing out ore. The market's going to get flooded and the ore prices are going to plummet and the market's going to suffer. And everybody's like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be that way. Well, here we are.
Yep. Cobaltite is 32 at the highest end.
I remember the first time I had to buy that crap, I about peed my pants with how expensive it was.
I can literally sell tier 1 higher than I can sell tier 4 right now.
Yep.
How many of you guys
orders at
played
24?
Eve?
Unfortunately, way too long.
So let me rephrase that a little bit. How much of y'all played Eve enough to know, like, the player controlled economy out there and the politics and how that was all?
Oh yeah.
You mean the harassment and player highway robbery?
No. You guys want to see DU succeed and find a balance to this market system? It's gonna take all of you here in the DU think tank and new people as they come in to band together and find a way to help balance that market.
And the only reason why the EVE Online economy worked the way it did is because there were some very dedicated people early on in the game that just said to hell with it, and they just made it work. I mean, the players are who made Jitta. Jitta was there. Was because that was well after the fact, but they did hire some.
When a game's economy prospers so much that they develop their own stock market, you know something.
Well, there's actually universities and stuff now that are using the EVE Online economy for studying.
That's been a long. They've been doing that for a long time, man.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying is that's
people use that as their business class projects. They start a business in EVE and show a profit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fox is right though. Go back to the way it was in the beginning.
Do we
They had
care if
games
it's
like
not a
that.
player economy?
I mean, but that's what they promised.
Yeah,
And right now it is not.
Bots. I mean, you're taking away. We already are not going to have any kind of AI. So except for bots. So we're just a bunch of people running around here doing whatever, selling crap to the computer.
Serious question from someone who never played Eve. How does money come into Eve?
NPCs, PvE.
We don't have those.
We don't have those.
No.
No.
We don't have those. So how do we get our money?
But I have to
We
agree
get our
with
money
Serapis on one
because
thing, because
NQ turns on their printers and adds money to the game.
I heard somebody agree with me for once. What's up?
yeah, I did. But the thing is like, Taylor was saying, didn't they agree that we were going to have a player ran market? Well, just
We're not running it.
Therapist said. The only difference is we ain't running it. You're right. But the thing is it has to be people like us that
Until
do
they
run
get rid of the
things.
bots. Until they get the bots out of the market.
Right, but if we were to sit there and shift a different version of it, instead of going to Market 6 or Aegis or whatever the case may be, and all the major players that are playing currently right now stopped everything and said, you know what, we're building a market right here on this spot.
On
Putting
that
down
point,
dispensers.
look what they just did. On that point, though, look what they just did. After we were building player markets, our own version of player markets at the castle and other places, and what did they do?
They just put a stop to that.
They put a stop to that by putting the exchange in.
Oh,
So they
that's
tell us
not
they want us
good.
to
Think
do
about
something.
that.
No, it
it's
didn't
not really
stop
so
it,
much of a
but
stop, but yeah, it is.
It's a slap in the face to everybody that spent time building a large facility for player markets in hopes of
Yeah, I'm putting
their
Atlantis
markets.
together, and they do that.
Yeah, and now they put an
Atlantis should have
exchange
been
in to where
placed,
people
yeah.
can just everybody and their brother can just go there, and well, not everybody, just a few people because
Alright.
it's limited space. I get that, but
I think the exchange is more of a replacement for being able to advertise at the markets themselves.
well, yeah, because people can still keep trying to do it. They're circumventing that by keeping it parked there and just going within 7 days and jumping in your ship and resetting the timer. So they're still cluttering up the markets. So I get that. That's fine and good. Just put a rule in where you can't do it at the market period. Your ship can't.
Okay, Zerst, Taylor, and Crazy, your blueprints
I'm
are
on my
ready.
way. I'm on my way.
Does a consumer bear any part of the burden for where they choose to buy commodities? Like, even if it's more expensive at Gotmart, do you choose to support Gotmart rather than go to the NPC or whatever the NQ created market, right? Like,
well, there's no
I
NQ
always
created
agree,
market
so-
that sells wings and stuff like that.
they have,
But
they
I
have
will-
markets all over the place, though. Ophelia markets are everywhere.
Yeah, but they don't
But
sell the finished products. You still have to buy those from players. And if you're buying them off the
Yes,
market,
they
you're
do
paying
actually.
Huh?
They do sell finished market products. They're just way priced up. They have wings and stuff like that. If you type in wings, they have like 2 million on all the different planets.
Yep.
They're just
Yeah, there's quite a
They're
few
just
more
way-
bots than people realize.
yeah, they're
There's
just
a
way
lot
up
of
there
See,
in
and that
price.
doesn't need that doesn't need to even be in the game.
No,
There's
it
no
doesn't. It needs
need
to be
for
cut
bots
out.
to be selling any ship parts. That's bogus.
If we
I
were
guess
to-
I never paid attention to the fact that they were.
Oh yeah, and I had an argument with somebody about that, and I actually had to concede that they were right. They're like, no, there's actual parts, and I'm like, no, there's not. There's some things here and there, but there's not like wings on the market. And they're like, yes, there is.
Never really
And I
paid
went there, and
attention to it, I guess.
sure the
I
fuck
saw
no,
'em.
they're just way priced up there.
I didn't realize it myself for the longest time that there were those, and then I saw them the other day. I'm like, who the fuck is making 2 million wings? Sorry.
But then when you go
There used to
through,
be-
yeah,
I mean, bots for buying ore and what that. Okay, I can buy off on that for short term in the beta to help us get rid of some of this ore stock and for people to have some money. But to be selling ship part stuff that we're busting our humps out here to get the shit to do it, that's bullshit. That needs to go away.
But
I
let's
think
say
it's to
there were
keep
no
the market
bots.
value stabilized so it doesn't go crazy on one item.
would there be enough schematics available on the markets to make whenever you want? Like, the cost may be higher, but I have a feeling that if every player can make money making these schematics in their queue, they're going to do it.
Well, I think
everybody's going to try. I mean, if it makes money, people are going to do it. It's all fine.
I think it's going to dilute the market. Is going to be the major issue we're going to have. Is people are going to do that, and then they're going to put them up on the market in bulk, and the demand isn't going to be there after the first couple weeks. So after the first couple weeks go by, and the sales drop off, we're going to start seeing those prices dropping drastically.
Because we won't all be buying it. Well, I mean, because like everyone says, a lot of us, I know 2 factories today that are, if this kicks into effect anytime soon, they're shutting their factories down completely. They're just going to turn them off.
You'll probably see a third one only because I'm not going to be able to.
Okay, it may be a good thing in the aspect less than in elements, but how is it a good thing with ore? That's how I make it was how I made a majority of my money. How do I sell all that ore now? Are you gonna buy it all?
Hell no. But
this is gonna kill the ore. It's definitely gonna kill. Even worse than it.
Ore is gonna be a personally handed thing, and most people are gonna drop off of mining units for quite a while. Because you're able to buy ore all
Onrad, that's gonna start dropping off here soon. We're at the tipping point on the salvage right now. It's starting to fade. And we're not going to have another big salvage run until the game goes live and the beta keys drop.
Unless they wipe.
Unless they wipe. But the salvage is about to start pacing off. I'm waiting right now we're going to start seeing a little bit more of I think a rise in prices between the schematics changes and also the fact that a lot of people that got those mega factories, they salvage all that crap in it. That stuff's starting to get used up now.
Yeah, I've been seeing prices raised in different places for parts and elements, and I've been able to sell things I didn't think I could sell. Truthfully.
Yeah, I just sold 1,000 excess adjusters.
Okay, guys, when you're here for your blueprints, let me know. I'm up on the east side of the castle on the main runway.
I'm under the big ship.
Who said that?
That's Cage. Yeah, I'm down here hanging out.
Did you get my reply? Okay. Just reply to me, let me know what number you want.
Kind of back to the beginning, like NQ had mentioned schematics recently as something like that was like a reason for the wipe or whatever. But like, do most industry people think that schematics needed to change?
I think if they would have implemented this system originally, it would have been a lot better accepted back then. We would not have had the major player exodus like we did, and we wouldn't be having the Band-Aid rip-off effect we're having now.
And if they'd have done it smarter when they first implemented it, it would have been a problem.
I still say they need to keep it to where each player has one master and you can make it.
9, 10, 11,
12. My question and it's like I said, there's different things. What do you do with all the people who spent billions and billions on schematics?
Is there going to be compensation for all the money we've spent on schematics?
I mean, honestly, I think that what they should do, and I don't know if they're actually going to do it, but what I think they should do is just switch their sell orders to buy orders. Same value.
That I always say, instead, and also, I mean, they should if they did that with adding higher tier bots, that would also help stabilize the ore market, at least for now. That number's way too small.
Honestly, okay. Here's the things that I've been thinking about this a lot. If they were to do a few simple things, I think it would both stabilize the market, and I also think it would clean up the market. First of all, the higher tier ore bots for a little bit. Set the prices at reasonable rates. That would work. Reverse the schematic blueprints for the sell orders to buy orders for the ones that are being removed. And that way the players can get their money back if they go do it. I would put a deadline on that, though. I would definitely put a deadline on that. Like, say you have 90 days.
I am back.
This question is pretty legitimate. Like, why should you be compensated for your schematics?
I'm trying to think of ways to keep the player base as active as possible for the remainder of testing. And
I mean,
because a lot of people are going to want to compensated.
I wouldn't release this until after testing. I would save this until release.
But the problem is they need this to be tested. And the third thing I think,
whether we made that money back or not.
That's why we get a PTS or
do multiple PTS, release on PTS, get some feedback.
Yeah, but the problem is the cost of spooling up that PTS server. Every time they spool up that PTS server, it's a very expensive.
That's why they never host it for longer than 3 days.
Well, that goes on the back end of they shouldn't have messed around with some of the stuff that needed to be tested in the first place without putting it on a test server. They wouldn't have lost the numbers.
Oh, I agree with you, but the other thing I'm thinking is
spend the money to make it right.
They need,
lose it all together.
if they want to get rid of bulk items in the game, like right now, if they put in a recycler in the game for industry, I got 2,000 basic atmospheric large engines I would throw in there in a heartbeat.
I got a ton of adjusters I could toss in that bitch.
I got a bunch of voxel that I'm not using that I'd scrap.
I don't think
All right,
really
Serapis, I'm sorry.
satisfies
I don't know if you got my message, but I'm on my way over, Serapis. I'm sorry.
I don't think that really satisfies why you should be compensated for your schematics.
It's schematics that have never been used.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
It's money we were forced to spend on an item that they're taking out of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there was a gray area. And almost anytime any system comes out and changes are made, there's a gray area.
Yeah.
So, like, why should you get your money back? Like, presumably, like Opuk said, unless you bought them and didn't use them, which is your fault, or you bought them recently, which is in the gray area of, well, there's changes that happen in beta, like, why do you need to be compensated?
Well, at the time, there was zero talk of any change of any type of schematic. That was the golden rule. It was there, and that's how it's going to be. Now, enough people have complained about it, which is fine. I got no problem with losing it or changing the system. It's just a hassle. It's more the heartache they put us through the testing.
Well, everybody in here rides the DU roller coaster.
Yep.
I mean, and I agree. Like I said, it's not a need to be compensated.
No,
it's
just like it's a wish.
You're gonna have a lot of people who, if they're not, they're just gonna say, "Well, thanks, goodbye."
Yep.
We're not. We could all leave today. Every single player that plays the game today, that's fine. We're only here to test the game right now. If the game does not get considerably more players, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, then the game doesn't survive.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I agree. I'm not saying it's a game changer for me if they.
Metallical's making a good point. Whenever they change the machines, and when they introduce schematics and they change all the machines, nobody got compensated for all the shitloads of basic machines they have sitting in containers still.
But they didn't.
That's why most people left.
Out. They brought things into the game, not taking it out. There was a difference.
The machines still work.
Yeah.
Basic still.
Okay.
If you could still run the machine, you just needed something.
You can still sell them. They're going to just completely take them out. Like
Crazy Horse.
Still going to require a recycling machine for some of the copious amounts that are no longer functioning because you need to go to advanced and uncommon and rares.
Like what they did with the DSATs.
Yes.
They changed it from a tier 4 to a tier 1, and they took out specific schematics and all that time and effort, the money we spent on that.
Great
now people are making
Nimbus,
them for much cheaper, and there was no compensation at all. They just.
I don't think it's reasonable to expect any kind of compensation for any changes that
No,
are made
it's
during
not.
beta.
I'm not expecting it myself. If I'm not saying
we
like,
expect
if I don't
change.
get,
It's beta.
But I'm just saying.
Don't misunderstand. I don't.
Hold on one second. Zerst, trade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey Zerst, can check your DMs.
But aren't making them now. And they
Maybe
spent
what?
Gotcha asked for that, and he got it.
Because like,
What do you ask for?
There's a handful of people that were making warp beacons that aren't making them now because they're too stubborn to pay for the quanta to make less profit, even though they would make profit.
Yeah, and also again with the same thing, when they introduced plasma, it was an introduction of something into the game. The machine still worked.
The machine still worked. The schematics still worked.
It worked. It was just it needed another ingredient. It wasn't a reduction of something being removed. There's a difference between something being removed of the game and something being added to be needed.
And they're not technically taking schematics out. They're just changing the schematic structure. They're still going to be there. But
all the schematics that exist right now
are going to be gone. Yes.
Yeah.
Going to be gone.
All the
those are being removed. And they're again back with the skill points. Are they going to do another refund on that? Because there are people that are going to change how they.
East side of the castle. I'm on the east side of the castle. I'm doing number 9 right now.
If we want to go down the road of things I would expect to see, more so than any kind of compensation, would be refund all indie talent.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Kids.
I would.
One of the things that someone suggested too was like, so let's say Warp Beacon's schematic costs or whatever, like 850 million. That's not the exact price, but somewhere around there, right? So then the new Warp Beacon bundle or whatever costs you 1 million quanta to make one of the schematics, the new ones. So instead of, having the buyback system, just you take that schematic or whatever, you put it in your bag, and then, when the changeover happens, you just get 85 of those. Or whatever, 850, whatever, whatever the math works out to be. It's like you get, the schematics for the value that you paid at some point.
And if they did that, if they wanted to turn what schematics we have currently into copies,
yeah,
that would be fine.
That was just a suggestion.
That could work as a compensation.
It doesn't have to be quanta.
The problem with that is we don't know if the Warp Beacon is going to be its own schematic, or is it going to be an XL BP or XL schematic that makes Warp Beacons and XL space engines.
Okay, guys, just a reminder, please keep an eye on stream chat.
Onrad had a good point too. I mean, okay, when they did the mining change over, would you all have been, because I wasn't here at that time, if they wouldn't have wiped your talent points, would you have still been so okay with the new mining unit system?
They did give you your mining points.
But he's saying what happens if they hadn't have, and they just flat out changed it? Then everyone would have had all these talents in mining, which wouldn't have been as useful anymore.
Atris, I'm doing the 10 now.
They didn't give a full reset then, to be honest.
But okay, that's the kind of the same scenario.
I wasn't happy with the mining units, regardless of talent point change or not. That didn't matter to me. It was I wasn't on board with the mining units.
Like mining talents are still worthwhile,
right, because of asteroids.
Yeah.
So
they weren't to me because I don't do asteroids.
At the time they put the auto miners in, that was just another AFK feature of the game.
What are we on, Surface?
We're on 10. Do the hold on.
They got rid of all mining. So
I gotta go link to your container. Check your message when you're ready.
They were just worthless to you because you didn't want to go to an asteroid.
I mean, are mining talents worth anything with the price of ore?
No.
No, not really.
I mean, that's a fundamental question for the game itself. Is anything worth anything if a shipbuilder can't build a ship and sell it and make money? An industry person can't build parts or an end product and not make money. A PvPer can't go out and destroy a ship because it's literally way more effort to go and return that ship than to just leave it there as a dead carcass.
Oh crap! I just realized something.
The whole entire system needs to have that
risk reward.
Yep.
Or another term is called a recyclable economy.
I'll link to your build box, Serapis. All right.
Yeah, but it's still risk reward no matter what it is. I mean, that's what it is. It's risk reward. If there's no risk for us to play the game, then the reward is kind of pointless.
Right.
Hey guys.
If there is a reward.
Just because we're an hour into this and I have not done one yet, to say thank you for everybody hanging out tonight. We're going to start off with 20 mil, and then after that, we're going to do Drax's warp ship.
I mean,
20 million raffle up in stream, y'all! ! Raffle. To get in on that, you have to be an active DU player to accept it.
At this point, though, I think the only rewarding thing to do anymore in the game is to build. After they implement this, because if they, you taking away industry, fine, and then you take away mining, ore's pointless. So being a miner's pointless.
It's still gonna be good to get in the game and learn what's going on, and then be able to say, okay, I know how to do this. So when launch comes, you have the experience of knowing how this works.
Granted,
they're still driving this to more primarily a building simulator than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is I'm worried that one of these days they're going to come out and say you're going to need multiple people to build one ship.
Yep.
Oh, God.
So you're limited on how many voxels you could use a day.
Yeah, that's true.
So
you have to build a specifically designed hangar, a space hangar, or space whatever it's called, like on Star Trek, to build and deploy ships.
I don't think they're ever going to limit shipbuilding that way because
No, I'm
that
just saying as a figure of
yeah.
you know, is more of a perspective of the way things are going, because I mean
they keep pushing
they
to
keep
winning
pushing
and
to limiting everything completely. I mean,
But
MMOs, yes, are a big part of group play. We had a lot of the good ones go out and die because they changed everything. But solo players do run an MMO too.
Yep.
And they're cutting out a lot of good solo players. Now, I don't have a problem with them reworking how factories work or how mining works, but they could have done it in a more balanced perspective to give orgs a good advantage as well as a solo player a same balanced advantage to keep engaged.
Okay.
They're making it harder. Don't get me wrong. I don't think a solo player should be able to achieve what an entire org can achieve.
All you gotta do is the landing pads.
But they're making it harder for a solo player to be able to come on and do anything.
I already did all those.
Somebody like me who can play for 8 to 10 hours a day as a solo player, I can only build ships for 10 hours a day.
Oh, that was intentional.
I
Leave
can't do
those
a lot
alone.
of factoring and stuff like that in my time online.
Okay, so we're using big
taking
letters.
a lot of different things away that I can do.
You do the big numbers. So you need to make a 10 over there and just bring it over here.
Okay. All right.
That's a good point, though, to put people in perspective who don't do factory work, that just do building in this game. What if they did do that? Make it a way it takes an org to build a ship now.
Well, don't give them any ideas, because now you're taking any solo play out, and there are a large portion of any game is going to be a solo player. You cannot force the entire game to be all group play.
No, I'm saying that's putting it in perspective for people who don't run factories.
Yeah.
Build.
Right.
I think it's gonna be easier for smaller factories, but anything large, it's definitely going to be an issue for.
If they start pushing it to taking multiple people to build a single ship, that's going to drive away out.
I was just saying there's a example.
And that's all I am. As an example, as a solo player, you can build an extra small core, maybe a medium, but if you wanted to build a large core, somehow they design it so it takes an org to build it.
Yeah, I don't like that idea at all.
Yeah, I mean, but how do you combat the system of people who are either retired or disabled who can play 18 hours a day, and the other people or other guys who have to go to work and can only play for like an hour or two when they get home, and their time frames might not meet up if at all.
And a lot of those guys are retirees. That's the thing. You know?
You're severely cutting what the people who are not retired can do. You're granted they may only have 2 or 3 hours a day, so okay, there's only so much they can do in a day anyway. I could play for 24 hours a day if I wanted to. My wife wouldn't like it very much, but I could. So what am I going to do for my 24 hours of gameplay every day? You know?
Yeah. Even if you
stare at a wall and wait for one of my buddies to come online to help me finish this L core.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass. You know, especially
more than likely you just have another account.
Or you have
but again, that brings in the thing of alt to winning. That's what they're enforcing. They did it with the mining units. The more alt you had, the more mining units you could support. Yep. And now they're doing it with the factory. Now that those people who have 10, 15, 20 alts, we can keep at least a decent supply for our factory. I may not want to make those basic engines anymore that I have in a maintain of. I'll cut those lines off and turn those into something else, making other schematics.
Well, if I gotta waste the time,
making money, their NQ gives 0 fucks about how many accounts you have.
I do. I have every one of my accounts except for one.
I have no beta account.
But think about the game right now. I've got to be 50% of the subscribed accounts are beta keys.
Yeah.
I doubt
but
that.
how many of those beta keys are actually playing?
Yeah, no, a lot aren't playing for sure. That's for sure. But they have an active quote-unquote sub. There's got to be a lot of them, right?
Oh yeah, I know. I can name at least 30.
Game, if the larger portion of the current player base paid subs, what does that mean? What does that matter?
Well, I mean, but if you're retired, like, it's not going to kill your gameplay. If you're deciding to play any video game for 8 hours plus a day, that's your hobby. So whether you're a volleyball player one night a week and it costs you a couple $100 a month, or you go bowling and you buy a couple beers or whatever, like, the cost is for someone that plays that much. I mean, you probably should invest in multiple accounts to do multiple things.
Is drinking really a hobby?
That's not my point. They're forcing it to where a solo player has to have. Well, they're not giving me an option.
Nairo Puck says, "Want to buy my plasma?"
Hey, Zerus, check your DMs real quick for me, will you?
I have a question for all you guys in here that run factories and stuff. You guys know what I'm doing with Atlantis. When I get this going, I want to bring people in to bring their stores and shops with dispensers and stuff here, selling what they make. So like Taylor, what do you make in your factory right now?
I now, after this last week, which pisses me off because I just bought like 200 some schematics. I make everything up to advanced, including all deco and everything else. Every item.
Like everything.
And then MAGGs and a few other rare things. I make rare militaries. But yeah, everything up to
Say I
advanced
asked you to come and sell rare military engines.
Mm-hmm.
And then asked you to sell, some other smaller stuff, adjusters or, some stuff. But I said you can only sell rare military Atmo engines here. You can't sell the other engines you make. And then Buckwild or who else here makes engines? Makes regular engines.
Make advanced.
All right, Surface.
You make advanced. So I allow you to come in here and build a shop and sell advanced. That right there would help to start balancing the market. And then with this new change, he concentrates on the advanced, you concentrate on the rares, so it lowers your workload. Both those items are on the markets for players to buy, and you guys aren't technically competing for the same item. I know that's not sustainable.
What drives a good market is competition.
Yes, cool. But I'm talking about getting something started because that's not sustainable with, a large economy or a large player base, but we don't have that. And hopefully,
I'll tell you this: I changed prices on dispensers at Gotmart. It's not as easy as you think, and also you're prone to what I'll just define as fraud, where like one day your item is worth something, and the next it's worth either a lot more or a lot less, right? And like in the case of a lot more, fucking Nut in Space just literally comes over and buys all your engines and then goes and posts them on the market and makes insane profit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Limiting, even in the beginning to start a market, limiting one person to selling a single item.
Okay, but did you set a price and then he bought all your stuff and then you got paid, right? And you made your profit?
Yeah, but then he turns around and sells them for a higher profit.
Yeah.
Taylor Bud.
Oh, okay. Then why didn't you raise the price of your products in the first place?
Because I was asleep.
No.
Guys, hold on 1 second. Taylor Bud.
Well,
yeah.
Taylor Bud and Atris Cage. I have your blueprints ready.
Yeah. Why didn't you
check your DMs?
Like we can't.
Why didn't you set the price higher in the beginning?
Ever watch Gotchar's stream? All day long and for a long time, multiple times a week, we were changing prices on dispensers, and then the very next day,
market PvP.
Right? Like literally, like the machine, a rare engine went from 20 million, right, to 50, right, and then Nut in Space literally flies over to Gotmart, buys all 30 of them. Now you don't have any stock, by the way. Right, so your shop's out of that too, so people just stop going to your shop because you're just out of stock all the time.
It's the market. That's real life. I mean, if you don't stay on top of that and get
barter.
I mean, there's plenty of stores.
You can only make so many rare engines.
So I'm just telling you what the reality of running a shop with dispensers is. I'm not saying that there's a way to fix it. I'm just saying that after you go and you change prices every single day in the morning, and then prices have fluctuated, so you need to change them in the afternoon, it's a real pain in the ass.
It's also
but that's real world too.
I only sell them to my friends though. Like they have to ask me. They're like, "Hey, do you have this?" And I'll be like, "Sure. Let me go check what I have in stock." And then if I have it, I'll let them know, and I'll be like, "Look, this is the best I can do for you based on everything."
What I'm just saying is, if we don't as players take control of the market and build a functioning market ourselves and find a balance in it, then this is never going to work. And DU's are just going to keep taking and pissing everybody off, and they're going to keep leaving.
That's the point he's trying to make. The bigger problem you're going to face is, okay, so you say, Taylor, you can only sell rare engines here. Taylor goes and drops off 50 rare engines for 15 mil a piece.
Hold on real quick. Vamp's in the holding tank. Sorry.
Grab them.
Taylor goes in and drops off 50 rare mills for 15 mil each. And then he logs off for the night. Somebody comes and buys all of those, takes them to Market 6 and lists them for 30 mil.
And your point of
did he still get paid? Did he still get his 15 million a piece?
It's not helping the market.
In Dual Universe, nobody fucking has that mentality of, oh, I got paid, their mentality is, I just got fucked hard.
It doesn't solve the problem you're trying to solve. It creates a bigger problem.
No, I don't think so. Not if we start. And I'm not saying he only sells those engines. He sells something that's a high-end item, like the rare engines. Then he sells some other small things, and in his shop. And maybe somebody needs some adjusters too, and they're right there next to the shop. He buys them. That's a low-ticket item. I don't think anybody's making millions off of adjusters.
Okay.
Taylor made his money.
Guys, are we on 11, Serapis?
Yes, 11.
You can't be mad at somebody for buying your product and making more money off
No,
of it.
you're misunderstanding. It's not about anger towards somebody for that. I'm just saying Taylor got paid for what he did. Yes, he's going to restock later. Okay, he's going to make his money again. That's fine and good. But you got somebody comes in and buys them and goes and sells them on the market. The market is still unbalanced. You didn't balance anything.
My other thing with this too is you want people to come to Atlantis to buy stuff, right?
Okay, so
hold on. That's what you want, though, right?
Okay, hold on. Taylor, if you're concentrating on rare engines and you put 30 of them on the market, somebody comes and buys them for 15 million and puts them on the market for 30 million. What do? You go take another, put them back in the market at 15 million, and that person trying to sell them for 30 doesn't get jack shit.
But it takes time to build them. Yeah.
Now
hold on. That's okay. So we have jobs. That's why you build the orgs. That's why he gets people working with them. You get new players. You put them to work, making a cut of that profit. You guys are acting like there are not solutions to this.
No.
You can't beat this person trying to snipe.
But that solution is not going to happen overnight. We don't have the
I'm
players.
not saying that.
Yeah. Also, my other thing with this too is, if you want people to come to a mart and buy something, if you don't have stock, they're gonna stop coming.
Yep.
So if this person comes over all the time, and even though I'm trying to keep up with the market, he still buys me and overcuts me and sells them higher. If I'm never in stock, they're never going to come to Atlantis to buy engines because I'm always out of stock.
Okay, but that person's not going to be able to keep buying from you. And if you keep filling it up, they're not going to be able to keep buying your stock and buying your stock if they're never selling anything. Because if you keep the price down and keep producing that item, that person's going to run out of money and have a shit ton of engines that he's going to have to sell even cheaper than
The problem is, how long it takes to make a rare military engine alone, just one. Even if I had 10, 20 lines up, it would still take me a week to replenish.
Okay, I'm not saying that would be the only item.
No,
I'm just saying we have to find we can't do the super factories. That won't sustain a market, and if the players don't take control of the market in some fashion and work together, a large group of all you different orgs and groups that have been here, if you guys don't take action and do something and work on a plan and actually work something out together, this is never going to succeed.
But
take Gotcha's example straight away. He has his own markets and that, but he still seeds the market to stop the people from undercutting him and going and buying all his stock up and trying to resell it, because he's already got it there as well.
He's going to have a hard time with
he
that.
has to produce a lot more.
Yep.
Okay. Hold on. Hey, let me get a word in. In Eve, I had several friends that were big in markets. I had friends that were in part of the whole Make Jitta movement way back in the beginning. They had stuff they put on sale at different markets. They controlled the different markets, the different ways of price management. And one of the easiest things we're going to be able to do in this game to be able to do that is basically what Gotchar is doing. If he wants his stuff to sell at the price he needs to sell it at, he has to do market manipulation to a degree. And that's what he's doing. He's keeping things on the public markets as well as his private market at certain prices to keep things within order.
Sorry about that. But it's going to be harder for Gotchar to do that now because I don't know how many alts he has, and he doesn't have a full army of people. But
he has quite a few. I don't know how many though.
It's going to take an army of alts for any one group, even a small group, depending on how many schematic copies we can get per day, per week, per character. We don't know that yet.
He'll be fine on schematics.
I'm sure he probably will be.
He's got friends that he'll have plenty of schematics. The real question is, will he
the other zero?
Where's the other numbers at? Right now, which is he logs in and
they're right in front of the big numbers.
Prices and changes the prices on the market. Then
So
he walks
if
around his
NQ's
entire store and fills it up, then changes 2 settings on each single dispenser.
If NQ's goal behind this is to not necessarily get rid of mega factories, but to make large groups have to be involved to make mega factories. It's not going to change
the bridge
because,
and the landing
because
pads.
people like the Gotchar are still going to be able to.
Okay, what about by the bridge?
Take everybody else time to catch up.
I didn't see the one by the bridge. I actually need to.
It's on the entrance to the bridge.
So it's not going to make a major change right off the bat.
It's
like
right
it's going to take
at
time
the glass windows.
Yeah, right before you walk in.
If me and I'm having a brain fart here. I apologize. It's a long night.
Yeah, I did that one.
If me and Crazy over here teamed up with all our alts, that would be almost 30 accounts.
Okay, what about the two in the cargo pods?
Mega factory with 30 accounts between the two of us.
Therapist?
There's ones in the cargo pods.
That means everyone else who had that means you need about 30 more people who don't have alts just
the
to
lift
do the same
pods
that we're two doing.
Right. So it's not going to make it easier for larger
streams. I can see it. Okay, those. All right. I'll get the other one on the other side.
Okay, all you gotta do is copy the one from the left and paste it over the 0.
It's not necessarily going to stop mega factories that are running now. I don't know how many people Friday Witch has working for her. I don't know how many alts she has. She's got a mega factory she runs. Gotchar's got a mega factory. There you go. The mega factories that are in place, if they have an army of alts,
you got it.
Things going to
wait, hold on.
Who's going to bed?
Besides just our time of having to log in every day to make sure everything's queued, grab those.
Exactly.
Which
Next
just
to
means,
13,
but for those of us who are either
right.
disabled or
12.
retired.
Harder on those if they don't make a central schematic location that the machines can pick from, and you have to physically go to each machine and load in a stack of schematics several times a day, especially for like, okay, think of Honeycomb Central. If they can only load in so many schematics at a time, and they're making hundreds of thousands of liters of aluminum honeycomb a day, it's going to be a constant job all day long. Somebody's stacking schematics in the machines. Because it doesn't take long. It takes 3 minutes to make one batch run of honeycomb.
On a positive note, can I tell you guys something that I
What's
forgot
up?
to say earlier? So, Sunday, my wife gave birth to a 6-pound baby boy.
Oh, awesome!
Congrats, man.
Right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Anyways, back to the bitching. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait. Do we get to have a raffle on who gets to name him?
Hey, Fox.
No, sorry.
If you guys read what Fox says, I mean, Fox, you don't have depending. See, when I joined my friends, so it's not, it wasn't like I had to earn my keep. It was friends. We're all, we trust each other. We've been playing with each other. It was one of those things where everyone kind of just does what they want. That's what you have to look for. The hard part is finding that in a big group.
I'm on your team with that, Fox. I don't agree with needing to have a big org to play this game.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it needs to be big org centric for the average player to have fun and play the game to the max that they can. I don't think one single player should be able.
Okay, we're on 12.
What an army of 20 or 30.
I want to make sure you had it before I did anything.
You should be able to do within limits of whatever you want.
That means you just need a 2. I'm going to do the little ones. You do the big one.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel bad because I am building this entire giant, massive monstrosity, and I don't have any kind of factory or sales going on.
But my question is now too at that, what's going to be the point of I'm not saying we don't want to go there.
Hold on one second, guys.
There's not enough of us anymore who
Code
are all
and
willing
Fuse,
to put
you
stuff
want
up
20
there
million.
to do that anymore. How are you going to have a shot?
Well, that's after building this and getting it kind of designed out. Like, once I finish the body, even when it's not complete, I'm going to start begging y'all.
Token giveaway. Token
start
giveaway.
begging
Oh,
y'all
crap.
to
That's right.
put shops up inside these buildings and decking it out even more, putting your own spin on it inside a shop or a building, and stocking those. And hopefully you guys will keep up with it. And as people come and show up and
Okay, guys,
see
this giveaway, you get 5 million and a token. You get 5 million and that ship right there. That's sexy little
to
piece.
fly down there and show everybody what it is.
What do you think I'm doing?
Successful shops.
Here's the warp shuttle.
But
no, it hasn't
that one.
worked.
Right, warp shuttle.
It hasn't
Right,
worked
okay,
yet.
warp shuttle.
And I know
has a
people have
successful
tried.
shop.
So,
That's about it, though.
you get
Okay,
5
but
million to the warp
that's
shuttle.
a single person shop,
his is
right?
weird.
It's not multiple.
Like
I'm talking about.
Serapis did this. Like, you should ask him about it.
What?
Yeah.
You had how many shops here at the castle?
Yeah, and we're actually about to be reopening the showrooms only, but not like vending shops.
Like what was like the downside to that?
The biggest downside with all the vending crap was keeping them stocked. People just weren't keeping them. People weren't active to keep them stocked.
Because there was so much going on with the game, people were not playing as much.
Yeah.
That's much more raffle guys in chat.
Here's another thing. If this succeeds in any way to where I can get 100 different shops in here, 100 different people running shops and stuff, I will yeet cores off into space because people aren't going to get control of the cores that make up the space station. You will drop a dynamic core within the room, building that you're putting your shop in, and build your interior off of that core. If you become inactive, for a certain amount of time, I'm not sure exactly the dynamics of it. You will be messaged and, we'll try to talk to you first. But if there's no answer and you're gone and you're wasting space, your core is going to get yeeted into the goddamn sun.
So my question is, though, how do you plan on yeeting the cores though when you can't maneuver somebody's object in
Actually,
space?
he can.
We're talking about
Actually,
shops
he
instead
can.
of the
Did they add that now?
Then we need to ask for the duties in RDMS.
All you have to do is technically just sit there and say, ask a GM. And
Oh,
say, "Look,
yeah.
this fella needs to move his core. Can you send
But
it
that-
back to
but-
his base?"
but I mean-
if you put it on, if you require them that they be on a dynamic core, he can eat that thing wherever the fuck he wants.
You can't maneuver in space though without a GM. Is my point though. He would have to ask a GM.
I can either get help for GMs, or maybe I can make it a requirement that they give me permission.
Adventure Valley, welcome to the
In
stream. Thanks
space,
for following.
There's no tile ownership. So
Okay, guys, clear comms. We're talking over each other a lot, which means the people on the stream will not be able to understand what you're saying. Take a breath between conversations and space things out, because right now they're getting a jumble of words, okay? So just kind of spread it out a little bit, okay? I understand you're passionate about this, I understand it's important, but if you're all talking over each other, they can't understand what you're saying. Okay?
No, you're...
There are ways around. He can place, say, he places a large dynamic, and you have to physically, he gives you the ability to dock your medium dynamic.
That would be a way, yes.
He can get wherever he wants.
I'm just saying, in general, if somebody were
Right.
just to drop off a dynamic core onto the space core, you cannot maneuver it unless you have the rights or ask a GM. That's all.
Yeah,
My point.
That's
I
the
was
only
getting at.
two ways.
So my recommendation, it's something we do here, is like on Concord where I'm at, we give everyone their own pad. But what we do is Concord owns it. So that way, if you ever stop playing, I can go over there and take you off the rights and put somebody else on who wants to live
That's
there.
what we used to do at the castle.
I couldn't hold enough cores. I couldn't do it, and I don't want to have the rights. I don't want to have that much control. I want to feel people to feel safe. So like one thing I think I should answer, for Atlantis, like what do I get out of this? This isn't gonna make me a bunch of money. I've been tossing the idea back and forth, like selling space in shops, so we do get something out of it, which that money just goes back into the station and keeps making it better, or hosting events maybe. But already the community's helped me a lot, and a few other small projects I've done myself, I've earned quite a bit of Quanta, and I'm just throwing it in here. But honestly, this does not give me anything except for the satisfaction if it worked. If it worked in the end, it panned out, it created some kind of stable market, and also a giant space station that everybody visits every day to, come see different creations. Like, look at the contests I'm doing for the center, art piece of the station, the elevators. Making this a community project with community artwork, not just my builds all over this place. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Okay.
I'm not
So,
becoming
I
some
don't want to
giant
interrupt
rich
the
mega
topic,
boss
but
of
I
the
would
game.
like to bring it back to schematics, since that's the purpose of this big tank, and this is something that we want NQ to listen to.
Thank you. Yeah, we do need to get back on
But
subject.
the market, I think we
Kind
went
of
this
covers
way
the whole
because
thing,
of the
the whole
market.
market situation. Exactly.
I know,
Yeah,
but we
the
can't
schematics
go.
affect the market.
We have to remember a couple things over the conversation. We have to keep the conversation to a focus where it's going to be something that's applicable and something that can be adjusted, something that's practical.
Agreed, but they need to understand the full damage or help that this can make. It can either make or break this market even more. And
it has a
these are
trickle-down
things.
effect.
These are things that we've wanted in game forever, was the player-run markets, and they're not giving us that, so we're going to do it on our own. So they're taking that away by some of the things they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, they're not taking anything away from us.
Drax 13.
I think
they're
this
not
schematic
taking it
thing
away,
does
they're
help.
limiting it.
Yeah, they're limiting.
Limiting it.
I think that limit kind of helps what I'm trying to do here by limiting factories and making it to where people have to decide on a specific thing to build. So they're going to look at the markets. Somebody's building this, somebody's building that, somebody's building that. Nobody's building this. Okay, let me build that and get on there.
But that's the thing, it's not limiting everybody. It's only limiting those that don't have enough accounts.
Well, this is gaming. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the biggest
but-
mistake they made in the
We've
beginning
got
was
an
underestimating.
ability for, anybody to sell schematics and to participate in, contributing to production. Even if they don't have industry units themselves, they can still play in that game loop.
Okay, let me say. Okay, I'm gonna say something one time, very clearly and very to the point. The concept of multiple accounts being a crutch or an exploit, that's never going to go away. No company in their right mind is going to decentify that, because the fact of that makes them money, and there is no real way for them to police that practically. So anybody ever saying, oh, this person has 30 accounts, well, that person is paying for 30 accounts. So if that person is willing to dig into their wallet and pay for 30 accounts, they get the benefit of that. So that can't be held against them. They're paying for that, and they're the ones spending the time doing it. So that's always going to be a situation, and that's always going to be a difference between the people that are casual gamers and the people that are psychotic, just like, I want to have my damn paycheck on it. And you're always going to have those people.
And don't get me wrong, I wasn't saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's not limiting to them. This is just a pain in the ass to them. For like people like, few people, it's just like Gotcha. It's just more of a pain in the ass that he has
But
to do.
it's never going to be limiting to anybody in any game like that. That's my point.
I mean, they do add some limitations, though, right?
It's
Like
limiting it to some extent. It's not limiting me, because I can still do what I want to do. It's not going to limit Taylor. Still do.
Nut in Spades brings up a good point. Is there an incentive to be off of Aelioth? And that's something I want to touch on as well, because the shipping schematics at markets means that you don't need to travel to the planets to obtain schematics. Those schematics will be sold by other players. How will that affect the focus of centralized markets such as Aegis and Market 6, where
I think you're going to see Aegis becoming a lot more popular.
Well,
tax-free.
No, it's not.
tax-free.
It's not.
Oh, I thought it
tax-free.
was.
No, I just spent like 100 mil in taxes
Really?
last week selling
Damn.
shit.
It was like right before the reset of the point value.
Mm-hmm.
13's
For
done.
account
Test
points came
surface.
back, it was like 2 or 3
13's done?
fixes back. They ended up
13's
making
done. Yep.
This is one reason why I always try to sell.
Okay, now we got to reset it to double lot, okay?
Markets, because I hate having to pay those
Reset to what?
taxes.
Reset it to double lot once I like this blueprint. 0, 0.
concerns I have with
There,
the
gotcha.
system is
Got
that
it.
more focus will be on those popular markets and less focus will be on spreading out into the other planets in space. So what kind of incentive will there be on those other planets, since this schematic feature is being removed as an incentive to travel to the planets?
Hey, Smallville,
was
you
it
ready?
really that much of an incentive before? Like, you just take a warp shuttle, grab your schematics, and come home.
Eskimo Sport raffle.
I have a question. What are our taxes being spent on? Because I ain't getting no extra health care or anything in this goddamn game. Where's my check?
All your
every month,
resurrections.
They just want to pull money out of the game. It's all it is.
They're taking
Good
our white
money,
privilege.
Can I file taxes at the end of the year and get a portion of that back?
Okay, I
At
saw
that
a Smallville. There's
Get
a
rid of the
Smallville.
login bonus. I'd rather just get rid of that.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, legit, I put just over $1 bill worth of stuff on the market, and I think I spent almost 100 mil in taxes on that.
Real quick, I need to make a statement because most people who have bought this ship are here tonight. If you have bought this ship and you to deploy the blueprints for the lifts and the ship, you need to go in and set the channels on the receiver, which is in here. Is that the receiver in the back? Receiver, right? Oh, there's a receiver. Okay, there's the receiver. And you need to set the channel on the emitter, which is right here on the elevators to match. That way your remote control doors will work, okay?
You can actually set those in code now. You can actually get your code to do that for you.
We're not all as smart as you to do coding.
The one thing I wish they would bring with this
Hmm.
update would be reverse dispensers, so I could set what schematics I want to buy at my base.
That would be
And
nice.
people can
Yeah.
come in while they're shopping at my base.
Sell me
And-
schematics.
Yeah, sell me schematics. I don't even
Hey.
care if each dispenser had its own wallet I had to maintain.
Smallville, coming for you.
I mean, because the way dispensers are set up now, you can set a common wallet, so it's just a matter of making it to where a dispenser can accept and dish out it can accept an item and dish
Okay,
out funds
right,
instead of
13.
accepting funds and dish out an item.
Great
I think that would
odds.
be a more simple
There
solution
you go, bud.
than making it a separate wallet.
My biggest complaint with dispensers, and I give KB and Gotch huge props for this, is having to go through them. Every day, that's just, you know, I'm already trying to maintain mining units or work on ships, do this and that. That's another reason why I hate dispensers and won't do them, is because that's just extra time I'm gonna have to spend now on top of everything else.
Okay,
Well,
so
look, you're one player trying to, you know, be a fucking empire, you know, on your own.
Yeah. So
why
should
I'm just saying it's gonna be hard, and if you can't,
I don't think I should be able to do what a group of 30 can do, but I should be able to do what one person could feasibly do.
okay,
And
guys.
by definition, you can do what 1%.
There are 3 more sets for this. No, 2 more sets for this ship for sale.
Well, it's when you have to go to 14,000 different dispensers to set prices on things instead of having one central location to set your prices, and it feeds it out to a shop.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes
many
me
more surface?
instead
2
of
more
15 or
sets.
20 minutes to change my prices.
And we already have the numbers
spend 2
done.
hours.
Nice.
So there's 2 more sets left to be sold at the Gaia.
And there is a token giveaway, guys, in chat.
Yep, you get this ship and 5 million Quanta. Exclamation mark raffle if you haven't already. You get this
Yeah,
warp
it's-
shuttle by Drax.
To me, it seems like there's just sort of this constant balance that they're trying to strike between being able to give people functionality on their characters that doesn't require them to be online all the time, while not making it so that you can just buy a bunch of alts and then get whatever you want, right? So,
But
like
they're
in this
creating
case,
just as much imbalance as much as they're trying to balance. is the problem.
yeah, in this case, I feel like my primary issue with this is that, as far as I can tell, there's nothing you have to actually do. You just say, "Give me the schematics," then you get the schematics. In the case of like mining units, I've got 5 accounts, and let me tell you, I get bored as heck of doing all of my calibrations on 5 accounts. Like I do not keep up on it because it's too much. It's too much work for me to do, even though I
I'm
have
not
these
running
accounts.
mining units right now because I mean I got bored mining megas, but it was more of a feeling of accomplishment by the time I got done with a mega
Yes.
than running around to 4 different planets and calibrating 40 different mining.
I'm in.
I never got bored doing mega nodes,
Yeah.
but that was just me because
I would
I'm
fall
weird.
asleep doing a mega. I mean, get halfway through a 4,000 kiloliter or 400 kiloliter, whatever. Get halfway through a big one in a couple of hours, and I'm just sitting here just.
My
won't
question is
mind
though,
if
who
no
actually
games.
still actually does the mini game with mining units anymore?
I don't.
I don't
skip
because
it.
I don't run
Yeah.
any units anymore.
Well, I mean, but even if those who are still running units, even then, only thing I ever did was just a quick hit. As soon as I hit start, hit escape.
I did it with mine
the
because
only time I
man,
do
Matt's like a person.
the game is like when I've actually let it hit 0 because I've let it go
Well,
too
yeah.
long.
I'm a min max type of player. I want the most I can get for my time, so I'm going to do the mini game if I'm doing it.
I get
Zero
that, but
zero done,
I was
Surface.
running. Well, I'm running right now over. What was it last count? 380.
That's it, we're done.
Yeah, if I was running that many, I would not, unless it was unless I had a titanium.
I have, and that's the only ones I do it on. Is my tier 5.
I would calibrate the ones that were worth it at that point. But if
Yeah.
I'm only running 40, then I'm going to calibrate them all
But
because I'm min max.
But even then, my tier 5s aren't even worth that much anymore. I can sell
Well,
tier 5 is worth.
If you had a ship that was selling and you needed the titanium, or
Yeah, that's a different
you know what I
game.
mean.
I just bought what was it? What was it? 8,000 titanium honeycomb from somebody. That was a pretty penny.
So what would you guys say to them limiting how many factory components and mining units you can use, but combining that number? So like, You have
They did limit though with
so you have a set count. Hold on, but you have a set count, and that's mining units and factory units. So like if you place a mining unit, that takes one away from both items. So that's one less factory, count you can do as well.
Production limit, like core limit.
Why?
Huh?
Yeah, why are you bringing that up?
Well, you got somebody running 300, one person running 300 mining units, and then trying to run a factory on top. That does not sound like something in real life.
Okay,
normal.
guys.
Yeah, but
What's up?
ancient.
Hey.
How many? Okay, for
Toms,
one, how
1 second.
many
Toms.
hours? Okay, go ahead.
What?
Like I said before, space it out. You guys are running over each other, and they can't understand what you're saying. We're here for them, not for us.
I'm just saying, how many hours am I on the game, Ancient? Ask anyone here. It's all I do most of the day.
That's fine. I get that, and you're a hardcore gamer, so I'm not saying anything against that. But what I'm saying is, it's literally what you're doing right there. Is why NQ keeps making these major changes. They're trying to change things around. They're trying to find a way to balance this game around players like you. That's not meant to be an insult.
No,
It's just from the very beginning. Hold on, let me finish this. From the very beginning, they made one major mistake, and they underestimated gamers, because we have time and time again completely blown everything out of, their tiny little fucking brains.
I've said this before, but that's
Look at the stream. That's something they don't want.
yeah. See, this is something though that's happened since flipping Ultima Online. I mean, there's a video on Ultima Online showing this whole ecosystem they had designed in the game, but they had to take out of the game because players found a way to exploit the ecosystem.
They didn't kill the bears; they just killed rabbits all day.
Yeah, I mean,
It's told by Deckard and Rocket on multiple occasions that we
Something
have
we would do.
far
There's someone would do
exceeded their
that.
expectations of what we.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
there's
that
still
shit
a
right there,
lot
They
of-
don't like that we can lift 30 kilotons off Aelioth.
there's
They do not.
but there's still a lot of gamers that actually use the term "kill the rabbits" for exploiting the game.
Exactly, and we've done it in multiple games. Ultima Online, World of Warcraft. Oh my God, that place had so many weird exploits that we did that the devs, I guarantee, did not expect us to pull off.
Yeah. Now,
Ultimately, what will happen is they'll continue limiting what a single player can do, and that's fine. If that's the way they want to do it, that's fine. But that will take people like myself and Taylor, and it'll push us to another game, and we'll take our alts and go.
I mean, but and if it doesn't push us again, what's gonna stop me
It's
from
going to limit
buying?
my gameplay.
But what's gonna stop me from buying 10 more alts so I can do everything?
Exactly.
Like if I'm already spending what is it? It's $80 for a year subscription, isn't it? Or 100, something like that.
60. Like a little over 60
Okay.
bucks.
So what's the stop? I've already paid for 14 accounts. What's to stop me from doing 6 more?
Right.
Honestly, what's the difference
If I want
between
it
him
bad
doing
enough,
that with these 15 alts and someone having an org with 15 members?
Exactly. There's no difference.
It should mean no difference to
No, there actually is a huge
game
difference.
makers.
Because
there's not.
Yeah, there
15
is.
More
There's
work for a
one
single
guy-
person,
you're
but
one guy
still.
with one opinion. Okay, 15 people with 15 opinions is quite different.
Yeah,
Right?
I
Like,
get that,
like
yeah.
But
the
gameplay
effort,
is
the
the same.
effort of working, the effort of working with a team, is a much more rewarding system than just doing it by yourself.
Oh, I agree. I would love to have somebody
Yeah,
come join
and
me and take
also-
over some of this stuff.
being an Eve player, there was one thing I learned in Eve. You can have all the alts you want. There's always going to be certain things you can't do, even if you have an army of alts, just because you can't do everything at once.
No, you can't.
That's why I don't PvP though.
Well, that's the
Not even in
downside of doing it.
PvP.
That's the downside of doing a mega factory with like someone like Hanjo or Smallville. If they're doing a factory on their own or gotcha, the problem they're going to run into is they have to do all these calibrations, all these machines all by themselves. But if a larger org's doing it,
Mhm.
they have more members. They're able to do this, and their members are able to split up and continue
Okay,
to do
guys.
things. If someone like Taylor is doing it by himself, he's not even no time to do anything else in
Yep.
the game. He's gonna be
And
his
that's
life is
what
gonna exist around that factory and making sure it keeps going. But
But if that's what he finds is enjoyable
exactly,
gameplay,
it's up to him
what's
to do
wrong
it. If
with
it's
that?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If
But
he
I-
finds
and
it
so-
cool, then let him go.
I
The
get
He's
the
going to
fact
live in that
15
factory.
I
But-
get the
do.
fact that 15 players is 15 opinions, but maybe I don't want 14 other opinions with mine and how I play my game.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But what I'm saying is that The outcome may be the same, but what it takes to get there is incredibly different.
Waffle!
And so, like, if you're trying to PvP solo and trying to PvP against an org or an alliance, you lose.
Oh yeah, and I'm not trying to PvP.
But it's the same. It's the same here with industry. If you're a solo player and you're trying to do the same thing that an org does, you shouldn't be able to do the same. Can you? Yes.
Yes and no on that, because at that point it's not about a matter of opinions. You come together as a group and decide what you're going to manufacture. Okay, I'm eliminating 14 other opinions on what I'm going to manufacture.
Hey, Smallville.
If I have 14 accounts, 13 accounts, whatever, I should be able to do the same as 13 characters.
Hey, Smallville, what character are you on here?
Yeah.
If I have 10 hours a day to devote to keeping up my machines, there's no reason why I should not be able to.
Well, the only reason is that NQ has
online at the moment.
Been pushing towards group play. Like,
right,
that's
and I got no problem with that. And I can still, even if I'm running my 13 characters and Taylor's running his 14 or 15 characters, and we're involved with all of y'all, we're still playing as a group. It's just I have my own personal group to where when all of y'all aren't online, not all of y'all play 10 hours a day like I do. I spend my time here in front of the computer, so I need something that I can do with more than one character.
Now, solo play is another concern I have, because since Demeter and mining units, industrialists have been mining their own ore, and the market for selling ore has diminished. And now with schematics, you don't need schematics for intermediary parts. That means those intermediary parts can be produced en masse by industrialists with no limit, which lessens the ability for other players to sell those products to industrialists.
Okay, guys, 1 second. Clear comms. Vamskull, you won the warp shuttle and 5 million quanta. Come by the castle to pick up your warp shuttle.
Hacks and cheats. Hacks and cheats right there.
Hey, we got 5 million quanta up in chat, y'all. Exclamation mark raffle.
So listening to everything y'all say, I'm starting to come to a conclusion that it's just not possible in this game without NPCs or a larger game, like multiple systems, to where you could spread out titans as yourself. The hardcore gamers to like my own systems where it'd be harder for you to compete with each other, in separate areas.
I think the biggest thing we're missing in this game is there's two aspects of this game that we're missing that are very vital to be able to build an economy and a proper PvP structure in game. One is the source of income that's other than mining. Right now, the only source of income in the game, really and truly, is industry. And it's a very limited aspect of the industry, because it all comes from what will be soon the blueprint or schematic copies and the value of ore. Those are really the only two incomes of...
And the fact that we don't lose elements.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, the only incomes are your daily income bonus and selling T1 ore.
Yeah, right. That's it. Very limited on income sources. We're also very limited on content outside of industry or PvP. So you're going to lose a lot of player base because of that, no matter what. They're going to come in. The average person is not going to be able to sit here all day and run industry, or all day and run mining, or all day and build ships just over and over just to build ships like I do.
PvP to blow up the ships.
Yeah, you need to have diversity. And also the other thing they're missing out is I don't think they realize the concept of progressive gameplay in regards to the way, like EVE Online. Pretty much every player I knew, especially early on in the game, that got into PvP, moved into PvP through PvE, learning game mechanics. It's a stepping stone.
They were getting can tossed and everything as a miner, which they had to learn to defend themselves. And then they saw the things like the incursions, and that really interested a lot of new PvPers.
Well, when I was,
they wanted to learn that too.
I started playing EVE 03, so there was none of that crap there. It was you had your belt, you had but you had your belt rats, you had your missions, and you had it was still belt rats and missions with no set, and PvP.
Yeah, I started back in like 05, I think 06 or something.
Biggest problem though is they've already.
Can tippers were exactly why I created alt accounts, so that I could have a combat ship sitting in the belt to defend myself.
And I had a Rifter and a Cinnaball sitting on standby with my ult.
No, Zeramus, DU does not have PvE at all. It is all player based.
Never add it.
They do not want it at all. And until they make PvP more feasible and more accessible to and more enjoyable for more people to want to get into it, so that there's more element destruction or to turn on element destruction, we're still going to be faced with an overproduction.
Here's an idea.
To make it point and shoot, not fucking roll of the dice.
Okay, so here's another thing I would like to see in regards to element destruction. Is I would like to see a wear and tear system in regards to the elements. And I don't mean in regards, like, I don't think there should be a limit. I don't think there should be a limit on repairs. Like, you can keep repairing it unlimitedly. However, no, hold on. But however, in order to repair it, like if it's completely destroyed, you have to have elements that are used to build it to repair it. You can't just use scraps. If it goes,
I laid out a whole system for that.
If it goes past yellow to red, once it breaks that red point, you have to have those parts to repair it.
So many injectors, not all of. If it takes 10 injectors to make one engine, and it goes to red, maybe you replace 4 injectors. It's random. It's completely random.
Yeah, but guaranteed the amount of times that all of us have crashed a ship, I guarantee the economy would be perfect by now.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Most of that is the game's fault, not ours.
Well, even
I want to point something out that Vamp was saying about PvP. And this is no dig at UKB for being in Legion or at Legion in any general, but as a single player, even if I were to team up with a buddy who, again, most of my friends are either industry or miners who do not PvP, why would I want to go PvP and fight Legion when I'm either gonna get ganged up on, I was gonna use the other, but either hugely ganged up on, and then lose my ship, and so then it's not going to be fun because I learned anything because I just got my ass ripped.
You don't want to get gang banged in space.
Vamp, but it's not enjoyable to the larger player base because of that simple act.
Yeah.
Again.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be enjoyable if the carrot is worth enough.
True, but there's no carrot out there. What's the point for me right now? Plasma's not. I don't want.
Plasma
I don't care.
literally shows us that their idea of the carrot on the stick, it just doesn't work. Like,
well, their concept of the carrot on the stick, the implementation was very. There would have been much better ways to do it. I'm not going to sit here and say I know exactly the better way to do it. I don't. No. But
asteroids were supposed to be a way to generate content, and almost the very next system killed asteroids, auto miners.
Yeah.
Right? And then now we have this other system where it's rarely interacted with. There's no actual carrot. If there was a chance for every one of those random wrecks that spawns.
See, I don't think Tier 4 or Tier 5 ores should be on planets. I don't think Tier 4 or Tier 5 ores should be on planets at all. I think they should only be in PvP space asteroids. Because if you don't want to go to PvP space, there are going to be people you can pay to get it. People will be doing that. Yeah. That'll keep those prices that would keep those prices balanced better. Right now, they're not used as much as they're brought into the economy, so there's tons of extra of these high-end ores, and it tanked the prices.
Actually, I kind of disagree.
It doesn't bring PvP to the game.
All it does is drive up the system like it is now, and I'm not going to shit on Legion or anything. Because they did a good job at controlling
the
system.
You're only
and I'm not shitting on Legion in any way about
it will be centralized to just people like Legion
who own the PvP space.
Yeah, but that comes down.
I really like what DJ Slicer just said in text. I just want to interrupt that because I want tech stuff to get in here.
Yeah.
He said, well, you don't get plasma for dying, so there's no point. Like, the plasma system is like telling shipbuilders that only Captain Customs can sell ships because they sell the most, so nobody else gets to sell ships.
Well, that's King of the Hill in general. That's the natural result of the King of the Hill.
I think if the asteroids were done in a different manner in PvP space, because right now the way the asteroid spawns are and things like that, it's very easy to control things. If they were more randomly dispersed throughout the system, and the T4 and Tier 5 were more randomly dispersed throughout the system, and you didn't know what was on there until you got there, it would be a hell of a lot harder to keep up and itemize every single one of those asteroids. Even Legion wouldn't have the numbers to do that.
Well, the broadcast system didn't need to be in
No.
on that. It needed to be to where everybody had to hunt out the. There's no way of knowing if somebody was on it.
Well, they were trying to cater. They were trying to give PvPers something to shoot at, but the problem is, but they made it boring.
To be known to engage in PvP.
But KB, you there?
Yeah.
How boring is it for you to sit there waiting for miners?
Well, I mean, we used to do it a lot.
It's boring as hell, though, isn't it?
Boring, yeah. Because I mean, you could be there for 6 hours.
I'm back.
Give the PvP guys some extra work other than just going there and checking the discovered list every few minutes and go, oh, there's somebody on that one. Let's go get them.
Yeah, I would love to have mining turrets. That'd be fucking awesome.
We already did much more advanced hunting where it was like, yeah, we got to a point where when an asteroid was discovered and it wasn't in PV or in safe space, I would literally say it's a seal. I would tell people that, they would go, and it'd be a guy without a shield and he would die. Because nobody in their right mind discovers an asteroid and stays there. But there's methods around that. So we adjusted our hunting methods to basically warping the craziest routes you've ever seen in your life to go from roid to roid to roid to roid. And we would do it with 6 ships at a time. And that was actually fun. Because you're just shooting the shit. And then we'd start talking. We'd start talking in the in-game chat. We'd start, RPing. And then we get yelled at for RPing.
I got no problems with RPing. The problem I have is that it got turned down to one predominant org out there controlling the whole situation. There wasn't enough people and enough large PvP orgs to make it fun for everybody.
No. There are insanely more members in this game that aren't in Legion than are. It's not our fault that you guys can't work together. It's incredibly hard to have an alliance, first of all, that's made up of smaller orgs and have them work together and stay peaceful when there's an actual goal. There are so many more people out there, like Drax really wants plasma. He needs to find a group of people that all want plasma and work together and get it done. Like the base tenet of DU PvP is hold the field, which means people with guns.
My question to you though is, most of your guys, and I'm not going to say everyone, but most of your guys know PvP pretty well, correct?
No.
Most of them are button monkeys.
Yeah.
So now, how, and this is just a general question, how is somebody, like, let's say Drax, Crazy, let's just say the 10 of us in this chat ganged up on you guys, okay? In this chat, who besides you has good PvP experience?
That is where did I?
But going against Legions, like I'm throwing a bunny against Thanos.
No. You have it. But you have it now. That's my point. So, and if we try to go gank on you, yes. But we try to go.
I know the mechanics.
You have to put in the same amount of effort that we put in, and I can tell you that for a really long time, I wasn't shooting at real people. I was shooting at my buddies. I was learning how to pilot and shoot at the same time. We would duel shields to 10%. Then whoever got to 10% first lost, and then we'd reset, right? And we would do it 2 SU away from the safe zone, not out in the middle of nowhere. Just a group of buddies. We'd do pilot training. Like that's available for everybody in this channel to do right now. And like Opuck said a little bit ago, an S-Core PvP ship costs you nothing. Even if you were gonna go lose it, you wouldn't even care.
It's not the cost that I don't do.
I did it with Rockwell. I understand how the system works, but to me personally, I don't find this PvP system enjoyable because
roll of dice sucks.
Yeah, it's to me this PvP mechanic is not enjoyable.
Yeah, and that's why I say I'm not even concerned with that at all. Because if the carrot was right, you don't have to care if it's fun.
If the carrot was right, it would make it more appealing to me. There's got to be something of value I'm going to gain in order to enjoy a mechanic that I don't particularly enjoy to begin with.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
To me, there's no point. I'm not going to go out there and waste my time just for one plasma.
Yeah, no.
Hey Drax, what's up?
And that's even if we can hold it long enough to steal that one plasma.
Workforge
you
and
need to hold
holding
it for
tank.
6 hours.
Because I'm not out there. I'm not out there to destroy your ships to get your goods off the ships. Because now I've got to deal with rare engines or exotic engines or whatever that have
Wait, are we giving away the token or a blueprint?
The token. I'm waiting for Bam to come pick the token up, but I'm just giving you the blueprint.
Oh, okay.
In case you want to print one out.
Gosh, thank you.
So I just want to interject here. I don't want to minimize anybody's personal opinion, but I'd like to focus more on the game in general, less on the individuals that are in this room, their views on the PvP or whatever we're talking about. I thought we were talking about schematics, but
we're talking about how the schematics are affecting every aspect of this game. Everything affects everything. You can't just focus this to one specific part of this game because.
But it seems like every opinion goes back to a personal opinion.
Well, that's what we're.
Thank you, Van Hurt. Thank you, Ancient.
We're talking to NQ. We're not talking about ourselves. We're talking about the player base.
Right. We're giving them our personal opinions of what we think it should be or what we would like to see.
But there's only
we're talking about balancing of the game, which these.
At the end of this conversation, before we end it, we got to make sure that there is a specific point that we go through a feasible thing of what they're talking about doing. And I don't know if I've been up and down, so I haven't really heard the entire conversation. But
so
what we can physically do.
The biggest thing I've been seeing tonight, and so the biggest concerns I'm seeing is, first of all, there are going to be people that are upset if they don't get reimbursed for the schematic cost. If they don't. That's one concern. The other problem is we are going to have players that, whether they get reimbursed or don't get reimbursed, it's another major industrial change, and they're just going to say, walk away. That's going to happen. There's no way around that. You're going to have people rage quit no matter what the changes are. No matter how they do it, no matter how they implement it, somebody's going to get their panties in a wad and leave. That's always going to be that way. The biggest thing we have to figure out is, as players, how are we going to be able to utilize what's being presented to us to make the market work? Because when it comes down to it, they're building a game for a player base of thousands of people online at a time. That's the goal for this. And we don't have that. You know,
we're now being able to do anything with 1,000.
They couldn't even host that right now.
The problem with that is by creating the divide in the player base we have, by driving the devoted players we have away, they don't even have the good word of mouth to bring new players in.
No. So we also have to realize, though, this change is coming whether we like it or not. The only thing we can do is discuss about how this is going to affect the gameplay. We can discuss about maybe alterations in the system where, if you have a legitimate idea for something that's a minor change that might make it more palatable, or something that might, make it more effective, those are things we can talk about. We need to close up on those.
That's what we started out with.
And we went way off track.
Well, the thing was,
it just one thing leads to the other.
Yeah, it's a big snowball effect. But the problem is, it can encompass all that all we want to. They know what it encompasses. They get that.
Discussion inside already.
Yeah, we're talking about things that they've already been discussing for weeks.
Hey, Buck, check your DMs.
The only difference in perspective we have is, we're looking at this from an investment of time in the gameplay. I'm looking at this from an investment of the stream, my time in the stream, my community that I've really heavily invested in this. I mean, I've put XBX pretty much purely into DU, and XBX has been around for 24 years. That's a big investment for me. So, the biggest things we have to look at right now in regards to the schematic changes. If the schematic changes come, the main thing we need is the prices need to be balanced out to where the cost per item built does not increase so drastically that it makes it impractical.
I don't think it's going to necessarily increase the price per item if the way we're reading it is the way they implement it. If it's a low cost to get copies, you're more just waiting on the time. It's just more of a time gate.
Now, I do understand the concept of the combined schematics, though. The combined schematics are going to make it easier to maintain a lower number of items in game, even though they're data items. They're still items in game, and it's also going to make it easier to balance a market for them, because it's going to be easier to drive that market people want to buy. If you have thousands of very specific schematics, even if they are for advanced items, it's going to be a lot harder to move those. There's going to be no market for them.
Right. But I'm going to go back on what I said from the very beginning, is they need to also implement it to where you have a schematic bank. We already have it already has schematic bank is what it reads from when you're adding them to the machine. But allow the schematics to stay in that bank in the machine to be able to pull that schematic out of thin air.
Nairo, the cost does matter in some regards, because we're not just looking at the fact of the established players. One of the things we have to keep in mind is player bases. We want new players to come into this game. So everything industrial-wise, we want those new players to come into the game and be able to build their own groups, because that's important. We have these big, bad established groups. We need new groups. We need new organizations.
His point is that in any economic system, if there's a cost increase, it's always passed on to the consumer.
Yes, but there's also the initial startup cost.
But a starting player literally is in the worst case scenario because they have no talent. So if I have a maxed out talent character, if the cost of the BP or the schematic is the same for both of us, I'm making more profit off of every sale than they are. In fact, in most situations, they are better off just selling the blueprint and never making the item.
I also want to point out they probably don't have the friends playing that are high up enough to do that to make better deals with as well.
But that's not my point.
Sell my stuff higher.
If we want them to get into industry, they're going to have to be able to get into it, because there's going to be people at that new player level that want to do industry, and it has to be achievable for them. So those costs have to be mitigated. Yeah.
Low cost schematic. We're going to beat the dead horse here. It's feasible for a new player to get into industry now with the schematic system the way it is. The tier 1s and tier 2s, the schematics, the intermediary parts, they're cheap as hell to buy now. So it's not that new players can't get into it, it's just a little bit more of a pain in the butt to have to go and buy the schematics. But you're still going to have to go and buy the schematics. That part's not going to change. They're still going to have to go and pay a certain amount of money and wait a certain amount of time in order to get that schematic. Whereas before, they just have to spend a little bit of time mining some surface ore and selling it to be able to buy the schematic at a little bit higher price. But now they own that schematic and they can make as much of that part as they want. So it's really not going to change whether a new player can get into industry or not.
I feel like the new change is going to make it more accessible for anybody to get into industry, because they can make those intermediary parts for free, and they can buy schematics, queue those schematics up. Anybody can make those schematics now.
Yep. They also did say, I want to point out, and because I haven't heard this mentioned, some of the basic, simpler items they said would not need the schematic.
Yeah, that's what
none of the furniture stuff will have schematics anymore.
Decoration.
But also it said basic, simple stuff. So I mean, I don't know if that includes basic small engines.
I think that means
that would be interesting. That would actually be helpful.
Probably
all basic stuff, no schematics.
Possibly also stuff that's nano-craftable. It wouldn't surprise me if they decided nano-craftable means
like hover, small hovers, nano-craftable.
Well, let's go one step further. Anything basic can be nano-crafted.
That would.
Technically that would make sense. Anything basic being able to be not necessarily nano-crafted, but not requiring schematics, because those would be items that would be considered common knowledge. Whereas items that are more rare and more advanced would be more for people who have experience in that field, and those would have an extra cost with them.
2.3, like pre 2.3, you could make anything you wanted at any time.
Yes.
So if you can just make any part you want in your nano or whatever, then that's a return to that.
Yeah, it is. I don't think it should be makeable in the nano. I think it should still require a factory, but basic parts don't have the weight of value that they did back then either. Back then, that was all there was basic parts. So
then even that leads to it's not any more accessible to a new player, because now they still have to get the money for the machines. They still have to have the machine.
Yeah, but basic machines are really cheap, though.
So are basic schematics.
Yeah, but on the same token, the thing is like your engines that we have now, like your rares and your advances. Yeah, you get the intermediate parts for the most part pretty cheap or nothing with this new system, right? But you're not thinking about the new perspective that first week, people are going to be making hand over fist money because they got stockpiles of parts sitting in their factories.
Right. Now, they said intermediary parts like structural parts, complex parts, all those are going to not require schematics. So that means rare and exotic, intermediary, and structural and complex parts aren't going to require schematics.
No, those are going to require the schematics. I'm talking about what I'm talking about is first day, first week. Okay, so they're going to implement this new system. Yay. Okay, great.
Ancient wants in.
We got
Ancient's in.
New.
Are you sure?
New setup for
positive,
right?
He's just trying to get hype train going.
Yeah, but here's the kicker.
He's bitty bombing.
Okay. My bad, Cage.
We'll just take my small startup factory that I just rebuilt already recently. Right now, I'm making XL gates, advanced engines, military and maneuvers. Okay, we'll just take those into account, not count my optimized boxes. I've already been packing them in. I haven't sold any of them for a while, but I've been packing them in because I want to sell them in bulk. Okay, and I want to sell them in dispensers at my place for cheaper than what they're on the market, versus selling them on the market because of taxes and whatnot. Now they implement this whole thing. I got 30-40 boxes filled with this stuff.
Ancient, thank you for the gifted sub and the bits. Jap Buzz, thank you for the bits.
I'm going to be just slamming down cash so I can buy more schematics when they do this thing. I'm not going to even have to worry about it. Even as a solo player, I'll still be able to make enough money to run my factory.
Right, and that's what we were getting at earlier. But as far as the parts, right now, the way they're talking about it, when it initially comes out, it says parts will no longer require schematics. So does that mean parts all the way from basic to exotic?
No, because they already said it was a tiered system. It was not going to be anything higher than a certain tier, I believe. But
it says parts will no longer require schematics at all. This could be subject to change, but we're experimenting with this in the first release, which means parts will not require schematics.
Yeah, but once they see that the market is going to be flooded with all those tier high
it will change. That's why they said they're experimenting with it at the first release.
Yeah.
So if other players can produce those, that's good. If other players can produce those and sell those to people who want to make the finished products, that increases the accessibility to industry.
Right, but that's still going to require them getting a hold of the rare ores and exotic ores and being able to refine those. It's not going to be feasible for a new player to make advanced, rare,
anything
and exotic parts, even because they're losing so much in the refine process.
Well, I don't think you would expect new players to.
That was never feasible.
It's going to be appealing to them because they're going to be able to do it without the schematics. Because I can make it myself, but it's going to cost you a lot more to make it than it will me.
Right.
I mean, we literally had a recruit once that, no joke, would log in, he'd come into Discord and hang out for like 10 minutes, be like, "Oh, made a couple screws in my Nano. See you guys tomorrow." So there's like players that's kind of like their gameplay style is like it's
that's
really
fine and good.
Yeah.
It's all
like
fine and
talked to a guy today and got to our stream that had 65,000 Quanta. Right? There's
Before
like a whole nother level.
Before we
I'm not putting down new players. We were all new players.
Hold on.
We've all been there, and we all know what it's like.
What was that?
Denrick says, so where does master schematics come from? Sorry, I want to throw that in there before we
Hell
go.
yeah. No master schematics.
That's an
The master schematics is a menu that you copy your consumable schematics from. So nobody has master.
It's affiliate. You go to the or wherever, and you open. It's going to be. Think about it, and the only Eve aspect I can apply this to is the copying of your blueprints. There's going to be a menu you go to it, whether it's markets or districts or whatever. You go and you have so many queue slots that you can queue up for however many schematics that you're allowed per character per day. You go there and say, I want X many copies of advanced Atmo large engines, and then you set that queue and you walk away and you wait however many days it takes to get those.
Yeah, there is no actual master schematic item. I wish they hadn't even included that.
You're not going to have a master. Ophelia has that.
Yeah, they should have left that one out because that just messed up everybody's brain.
Yeah, the terminology they use is confusing.
I still think they ought to be masters. They ought to expand that to a point to where I can have a master and make as many copies of that master as I want.
Oh, y'all! Thank you for the hype train. We're already almost a hype train too.
I'm only paying for one schematic. It still limits my ability. I have a science in whatever queue in my factory. I have to make copies of my schematic, and it still takes.
I need something to do, Cerberus. What are we doing?
It still takes X many a days for me to get copies of that schematic, but I only have to buy the one.
Well, but if they're gonna go with like the system is like it's okay to get your alts because you're gonna get all that stuff, then you should just be able to pay cash, right? Like just straight up buy a copy or whatever, or a copy that lasts for a month or whatever.
I would love to buy a copy.
Yeah, I would like to see it more time gated instead of a production number limit.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you could get a master copy, if you could get a master copy right now, then yeah, there's the system just goes away, right? Because then everyone just buys the master copy.
But even at that, you still run out of your copies. Only last so long. Say it's subject to wear and tear of being run through the machine, whatever it's doing. So the schematic gets wear and tear, and after a week or 2 weeks or a month, it's unreadable by the machine. And you
Drax, now we got to build an M-Core.
As many items as your machine can run in that amount of time.
Of that.
Instead of me having to make, if I want to build a ship that requires 100 advanced Atmo military large, I've got to wait for 100 schematics to print. Now, how many am I limited per day? That's something we don't know yet. How many am I limited per day per character?
We'll just see far less of that too.
I have an idea for your M-Core version of that.
Like I think in general, NQ wants us to have less stuff and less huge stuff, and that's part of the limiting process that they've been through is that they don't want you going over to another planet and bringing back 20 million ore.
Yeah.
They're capping your speed. You know, like they just don't want that. So they don't want you to have a ship that has 150.
Well, see, that bothers me because when we first started this, that was the initial statement. Go out, be creative, see how far you can push it, build what you want to, push the limits.
Doing that, you're like, oh, wait a minute, stop.
Hey, I just thought of something. I don't know how many else have thought of this. Warp cells. How the fuck is that gonna work? Yeah, you get what? One warp cell per run, right?
Well, there might be a change to that too. You're going to get more than one schematic for some items when you queue them up to copy, and you might get more.
Okay, but my factory, because of how much ore I usually move through, my factory can produce over 2,000 warp cells a day right now.
Yeah, but even then, that we shouldn't be like I have the same type of factory. We shouldn't have that because it creates a surplus. So even if it only literally you made one warp cell with a stupid schematic,
you guys are awesome. You know that?
Like, that's a good thing to have. The fact that you can warp for cheap right now is stupid. It should cost you an incredible amount to warp around. For one, it means you have to build an actual engineered ship so that warp costs are cheap. For two, you're not messing up and bringing a huge load of ore back from another planet, right, and paying a bunch of warp cells because they're so expensive. The game would feel a hell of a lot different if warp cells right now cost 3 million per.
But then I would just basically drop all my outside tiles, outside circle.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
but now in the real
true, that would actually change.
Where is the problem in that? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, it discourages slow boating, which would encourage PvP if more people slow boated.
But that's the exact reason why I would just drop my outside tiles, is because I don't slow boat through PvP for the exact reason of Legion, and I'm not even talking about
the warp. I hate to say this, but one of the things they took out of the game that would balance the market right now would be the higher tier ore bots.
Mm-hmm. Even if it was a lower...
Even if it was
low cost, it would still balance them.
Even if it was a limited quantity, like they only bought so many per day and it reset every day, or every 24 hours it reset, that would still put a baseline for price on everything in the game.
But that can still, they would have to make those ore bots at one central location in order to get people to go through PvP space with that.
Kamikali? Yeah.
It's a bot that buys. So that right now, if you type in like hematite and you go to the buy orders, at 25 liters at the bottom of it or somewhere, it literally says like 2 million ore. It's NQ buying tier 1 ore from players.
Yeah. Feeding
basically
the game.
Yes.
And unlike before,
T1 would be like 5 quota.
Yeah, if those weren't there, yeah, you would make nothing.
The whole problem with the PvP aspect, PvP space, is the space is too damn big. It takes me 6 hours to slow boat. I don't want to spend 6 hours doing that. I don't want to hire a crew to spend 6 hours tailgating me. If the maximum space took me an hour to get from point A to point B, I could hire a crew. It would be fun gameplay. I would probably get attacked. There would be content for PvPers, and I'd get my shit back maybe safe. But who wants to slow boat for 6 hours? And
Yeah,
then
I can't. I cannot slow
GPU
boat 6
at
hours.
98 degrees.
Buck, where are you
6
at?
hours.
I'm here all day long, and I guarantee I still wouldn't slow boat for 6
No,
hours.
I'm not
so.
slow boating 6 hours. That's
Yeah.
why I don't
Well,
missions anymore. Because
I
I'm
would
not gonna
literally-
slow-
But
I
no,
would literally
honestly,
run-
guys, think about it. If they added the ore bots in, that would fix most of the market economy right now. Because it
The
would put
higher tier ones, yeah.
yeah, it would set a base price.
It fixes the market, but it doesn't add gameplay.
I know that.
Because I can go to Jago and mine whatever ore, and then take it to a Jago market and sell it. There's no.
I wouldn't have to bring it home then.
There's
either.
nothing feeding the PvPers.
No, but it does balance industry and give value to industry, making things more challenging to do and achieve as players. I mean, if the parts and everything, the warp cells, thank you, Ancient Decay, if the warp cells and everything were actually balanced out to where prices they should be based on what the value of the ore should be, I wouldn't be warping this damn thing around. That's for damn sure.
Right. And I don't disagree 100% with that. But what I'm getting at is the whole point of this is to add balance to the game. So you're unbalancing one aspect while balancing another. There's the problem.
My other thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Hold on. Weird is Dead says he does not play DU.
So.
I think he might be in the XVX holding tank.
My other thing with this too is okay. Let's say they did make warp cells more expensive, and let's say I didn't drop my outside tiles. What's to stop me from just going there in a very small warp shuttle, leaving a ship on whatever planet I have those, and selling the ore there instead of bringing it home from now on?
Exactly.
Because I wouldn't be wanting to pay if it's gonna take me.
Make somebody else.
Yeah, make somebody else go pick it up. Fuck that. I'll just sell my tier 1s.
Sell it cheaper than the bots and let you come and get it yourself.
Yeah, and then I'll go into the safe zone and buy the ore I need there, and then slow boat it to my factory.
Exactly.
We've just been living in a time of excess, abundance,
Yeah.
hoarding.
Exactly.
And
Yes, we have.
I think everybody in here wants that feeling of like, I got this part, and I'm excited that I got this part, rather than I can just get whatever I want whenever I want, and it doesn't cost me any money, and I have so much quanta right now, it doesn't matter. And by the way, I also have 100 plus ships, right? So I just pick my mount for the day and ride it around, and I've got enough warp cells that even though it costs an extra 300 to warp it, I do it anyways. Like,
exactly,
we kind of want to return to like the more exciting version of DU, where it's like an accomplishment to take off of Sanctuary and get into space.
But regardless, at the end of the day, whatever changes they make the industry, people like me and a lot of us here, we have so much stuff because there's been no destruction of that stuff. I've got over 10 million of Atmo fuel. I've got over 10 million liters of space fuel. I gotta be needing to make any or buy any long time.
That's why it's become a joke when I see
Exactly.
Gotchar or somebody else go, I'm min-maxing my ship and it uses less fuel. Who fucking cares?
Well, in the end game, when it's finally balanced, if we have a fleet of ships that are balanced when that time comes, they're more appealing to the customer.
Right, like
So
if the
we
fuel
focus
schematic
on
literally
those
only
things now.
made one batch, and
Rocket
like fuel
Right
was
now it's not going
rare.
to matter because there's so
Yeah.
much fuel in the market. But after game launch, now you have ships that are fundamentally viable to use in certain situations. this ship is fuel efficient to carry 5 kilotons.
So these new schematics might, especially in a scenario with a wipe, add a time gate. But one of the things we said is like at some point in the future, it will get back to the hoarding, excessive, nothing has value, and that's
if
kind
they
of
limit it, if they continue to limit it, I don't see that. Like, there's always going to be a hoarding. That's going to happen.
That's any MMO now.
Yeah. There's always going to be somebody hoarding. But if we had the player base, even if we had the player base we had at 2.3 before 2.3 dropped, it wouldn't be so bad now. The hoarding wouldn't be as bad because there's people playing. There's more element destruction. We would definitely have more people on TV, so the ships get blown up.
You want me to jump over to XGX
so
and get?
many different things that can happen.
He does not play DU.
I'm down talking the schematic change because personally I don't like the way they're going to take it, but that's just my opinion. Other people are going to share that. Is it going to achieve a certain goal? Yes, it will. It's going to limit production. It's going to slow things down, but it's not going to get rid of what we have in stockpile now. It's not. You're not going to see a change in the gameplay for a very long time.
Okay. Here's my concern though.
They're going to just wipe it all anyways.
You guys see my build boxes. You guys know what my build boxes look like, right?
Yeah, mine looks about the same as yours.
Yeah, mine looks like yours.
I have worked my butt off over the past year to have these build boxes.
I've got over 200 kilotons.
You know, this even the salvage of stuff that I got did not equate to most of what I have here. You know, this has not been an easy accumulation of stuff to allow me to build whatever I want whenever I want. This was a snowball effect that took some time to make happen.
There's a reason the Buddhists do those crazy fucking sand sculptures that they sit there for like 24 hours straight, and then at the end of the day, they literally just sweep it up.
Yep.
Like, part of creation and being a creator is accepting that you release it out into the universe. Right, and in this case, it's just going to get deleted.
I've got thousands of basic large vertical boosters. I've got thousands of large atmo brake. I've got thousands of large space brake. I mean, I've got so much crap. I'm not going to run out for a long time.
But there's a difference in scenario between the concept of what the Buddhists are talking about and what I'm doing here. The stuff that I have here, I promise you, there's not a thing in those build boxes that'll still be there in a month. I cycle through it.
If they wipe tomorrow, in 2 weeks you'd have a new castle started, and you'd have something to do. You wouldn't be like looking for jobs.
But what I'm just no, that's
so
not what I'm complaining about. What I'm saying is things like that should not be utilized as a reason to enforce or encourage any kind of wipe. Because, first of all, like you said, it's going to be back quickly anyway. All we're going to do is in 6 months after wipe, be back to where we are right now, and people are going to be complaining because people have what they don't have.
Unless we have a player base for all this stuff to support. If we come back with the same players that we have now, we're going to be right. Yeah, exactly. We're going to be right back where they are.
So it's a pointless endeavor.
If we could bring thousands of players in at the same time, then it's going to help dwindle down this amount because you got people buying ships, you got people losing ships, you got people doing this, you got people doing that. If we bring all this into the current player base with no increase, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. So if there's a wipe, I'm going to build an S-core castle on my starter tile. Okay.
Rough estimate. How many people do you think are playing the game right now?
I have no idea.
1,000, 5,000, 10,000?
No, I wouldn't even say 5,000. Less than that.
I would say not including alts, maybe 500, but that's personal opinion.
I'm going to go upwards to 1,000, maybe 1,500.
Yeah, they're going to try stuff, and they're going to keep doing things and trying to get things right before the full release, and they have a limited amount of time before that happens. So right now, whether we like it or not, that's our role. We're the guinea pigs. The only thing we can do, what we're doing with these streams and also the communication and stuff, is when they're doing this stuff and using us as guinea pigs, they need an honest, constructive feedback. Now, when you look at the Discord or the forums and you see these people that are just complete bad-mouthing, trolling, just asshole about it, that doesn't serve anybody a purpose. It doesn't do anything. All it does is tick the devs off and make them want to say go to hell, you know?
We're going to do. Y'all are unappreciative of what we do, so we're going to do
There's an actual stat, and we have ways to monitor, and Bucks just said it. get about 150 new accounts a week right now.
Yeah.
So like,
but how many of those?
How many of those stay playing?
And how many stay
probably
actually
not
playing?
a lot. Because anybody that looks at general chat or
Less
health
than
chat
10%.
sees a new player, and you see what I call a stupid camper question.
Yep.
Right. And when they get faced with that toxicity rather than a helpful player, and sometimes it's not a helpful player, you're really liable to log out. A second scenario that just happened the other day was we had a player who used to be an insane builder, like a voxel mancer, and he came back, and the servers were in such a shitty state that he got frustrated and quit, and came back the next day. Right, same thing. Servers were horrible, got frustrated and quit. Third day, came back. Finally had accomplished like a very small portion of what his goal was, but the servers were bad, so he just quit, and I don't think that guy's coming back.
Yeah.
We do have a toxic aspect to it.
There's a very bitter aspect of the player base, and I've told several people in XPX this, and I'll tell every one of them right now. If I ever catch any of the members in XPX trolling Global and trolling new players, I will drop their ass out of this group in a heartbeat. That's not what we represent here.
Defenestration, why?
Here's the thing. I have 7 referrals of people who have used my referral code. And I have, I think like 6 months or something. I have whatever the first 2 reward brackets are.
6 months.
Yeah. So I had 7 people roll characters, and I only got 6 months worth of rewards. What does that tell you?
Which say retention is less than 10%.
It means.
I mean, even when you have helped them though, because I have helped about 2 or 3 in the last, let's say, 2 months, or maybe 3 months of 1 a month, I'd say, that I can find and I help. They don't stay. They stay maybe for their 1 month subscription, and then they're gone.
The lack of gameplay.
Oh, I actually miss the megas. They were very relaxing for me. They were almost in like, it's like.
We actually had a conversation.
They were also
about
good
this
gameplay
earlier
to get people into.
Yeah.
With Hanjo, like, what does the game look like? Like, for a lot of players, when they look at a game, they want to see like, an early game, a mid game, a late game, and an end game. Right? Those are all like periods of time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, we often are shoveled it's a sandbox. We'll build the sandbox, and you build the toys.
Ooh.
What it has felt like is that when you build a toy, cough, cough, interdiction, it just gets taken away from you, right? Like it seems like it's more like limiting these days, which is what kind of creates that kind of like toxic atmosphere. But like, I'm a firm believer that NQ needs to take responsibility for letting that toxic atmosphere continue to exist.
Yeah.
Therapists touched on it earlier. They told us in the beginning, here's your universe. Go and build it. Show us what you can do. We've shown them what we can do, and they're like, oh, wait, no, that's not what we wanted you to do. We're going to cut you. We're going to take that down a notch or two. They said, here's the tools. Go and build. We built ships that can do things that they didn't think were possible, and they don't like it, so they're going to take it away. Why take it away? Increase the gameplay to make it viable. They have the ability to do it.
I shot at the people in Warp and they told me no. I actually had I had a friend I tried to get into the game. He was one of the guys that did a lot of the market manipulation back in the early parts of EVE. And I was hoping to get him into the game and DU to do that here. Because he's got the mindset that he's good at building markets. He's good at playing, trading, moving stuff back and forth, and, really manipulating a market. He's a flipping mad scientist at it in EVE. And there was actually discussions with him, telling him that, that was not allowed, that kind of type of market manipulation was not encouraged.
My thing with the markets on this is there's so much items that, let's just use the L stabilizers right now, for example. If you look on the market, they're like 60k.
Yeah.
Your factory with max talents, the best you can make it at, it's like 80k. It's because people just, it's one of two things. There's so much on the market that no one cares what the price is anymore. They just want to make a little bit of
People have their own oil. If you're acquiring your own oil, it's costing you almost
Oh, we had the same problem in E for a long time.
But then
We actually had a.
That's true though.
But yeah, I say that's not true because even if you're like me, I acquire my own ore, but it still costs me time, warp cells, and if I wanted to, instead of doing the factory, I could have just sold the ore and made a lot more money.
If you're selling it at a loss, then you're spending your time and effort to literally lose money.
Yeah,
that's what a new player does.
You take some of those people that are selling them for 60K. Some of those people have their factory within close proximity to Market City.
Like
And they're making them right there. It doesn't take more than T1 ore to make a large staff. Everything you need to make a T1 stab, you can get right here on Allion.
Every new player is inefficient, and this is something I talk about with Gotchar a lot, is that if a new player just wants to play the fucking video game and make their own parts, then the efficiency no longer matters. So in the new schematic system, maybe it's way more attainable for somebody rather than having to pay an upfront cost for the schematic that creates forever to just create a couple in their backpack. It's much cheaper. And look, they actually built the 2 wings that they're going to put on their ship.
And that's
that
all
might
fine.
be a plus.
The other thing I'm looking at is we had the same problem in E in regards to lack of appreciation for time and investment into the production. That you had, especially new players, would come in, they'd start manufacturing stuff, especially components. That was a big thing for players, was they would start building components to build capital ships. That was a quick, I'm going to buy Plex, sell the Plex, get those components, start building those components, and then sell those components for capitals. But they never took into account the cost of the time that it took to mine those materials. And it was frustrating because then you have the null set guys that are doing it legitimately, and they're trying to take in the concept of the time it takes to build the facilities, the time to buy all the BPOs, make the BPCs, because you have to keep the BPOs secured, because if they get stolen, you're screwed because they're researched, And there was a whole lot of stacked cost for the advanced builders that the entry-level builder did not have and did not appreciate.
My thing with that is nothing in the game is technically free. Your time is money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not getting at it that it's different that it's free. I'm just saying you can make it for less than the 60 if you're mining, or once you've made so many and sold so many. Recouped your BP, your schematic cost. It's just a matter of your time.
Well, in the new system, you will almost always recoup your schematic costs on the first sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
you have to, because you have to buy. You have to have a second schematic to make the second wing.
Well,
Yeah,
also
it's cheaper than you used to, because now with like some of the schematics, you have to wait 30 or 40 cells into it. Now it's gonna be more like 10.
But at the same time, if you guys think about it from this perspective, big industry is going to have a little bit more of a hard time keeping up. Because when you're building a huge factory, yes, you have the huge factory. But the cost of setting up that huge factory and the cost of maintaining everything and the player input that you're going to have to maintain that huge factory, your overhead is going to be so much higher per item than the average guy that just makes a couple copies and produces a few wings.
What NQ is asking for is a fundamental shift in how we do factory.
Yeah.
Meaning that a machine right now, the way you set it up is you build a whole line and it does the thing. Then you build another line and it produces things. In this new system, you could have multiple schematics in the machines so that, yeah, you built 2 wings today and tomorrow, because you have to go touch the machine anyways, those same machines can build other things, right?
Yeah, and with not needing the intermediary parts.
You can hold 50 schematics. You don't have to touch it for 2 or 3
Yeah,
days.
but I mean, at some time you're going back to touch it, and that's gameplay, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing we've been asking for, and that's role play. I'm an industrialist,
Yeah.
when my parts make it to market, it's because I spent, a fair amount of time this week reorganizing things and putting them on the market.
KB, you know the intro of the video they have on the DU website of the industry where
everybody's standing around, yeah.
the one where everybody's in the factory doing stuff. You got the guy on the little forklift thing, traveling. That's what they want.
Yep. Well, and you might even see that though, where literally, if you're in an org, or even if it's just me and Core making stuff, we have a spreadsheet on the side, and it's like, okay, well, what needs to be done today to produce the things that we're producing today, right?
Yeah.
And so there's actual gameplay. Does it seem tedious as fuck? For sure. But you're playing the game, right? Like, the downside to even like the main successful MMOs, like I don't know how many people play WoW here, but how many hours did you have just standing in Orgrimmar, right?
Oh,
just standing there, like, you know, or wherever. Like, so a big part of the game is like giving you active gameplay, which is something we brought up earlier.
Hi, physics.
Just standing there waiting to get into that 40-man.
Yeah, but if the game is just a lot of doing nothing and it's not active gameplay with reward, then we don't want that. But if the game now has active gameplay, even though it's considered tedious, we definitely do want that. We just don't know it yet because we haven't had this fundamental shift in the game.
Like I said, I'm not completely against this change, but it's going to be, the reward is not going to come for a long.
It's like he was saying, no carrot on that stick.
So. Yeah, there's no carrot on the end of that stick because right now the stockpile is so high, and there's no reduction in that stockpile in the foreseeable future until they do the wipe.
Fightmaster, the thing is, there's a lot of stuff in this game that is literally actually just a job. In fact, in most MMOs, I go and change prices on fucking dispensers. That's a goddamn job, right?
Oh, yeah.
I go with 40 of my friends to defend a core that one guy spent 450,000 quanta to push the shield, and now all 40 of us have to go out and nobody shows up. That's a job, right? Only
just like with Eve Online, it was a job, man. You had people that just went out there and did PvP.
Okay,
when
so
it comes to everything else,
Eve,
it was a job.
at one point in Eve, I was running a 3,600 man alliance. Okay, and it was actually XVX. I wanted to jump. It got to the point where there were days I just walked away from the computer because I would spend 10, 20 hours a day sometimes. And I do mean 20 hours in some days. Just dealing with crap. I had 52 organizations with 52 different CEOs. Who every one of those CEOs thought they were king of the fucking world and had an ego to go with it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big old change to
You missed a whole lot, Storm. Still, you saw the information that came out there. Change with the schematics that are coming. So
that's a pretty doggy you got there.
I do think, though, in general, I'm ready for change in DU. I'm in like zombie mode for logging in right now. So whether the change is great, I'm just ready for some change. I also think that like a lot of the stuff we're worrying about is solved by a wipe, and I know that's a hot take or whatever, but you know, at the end of the day,
it's solved by wipe. There's no short term, and well, it may be solved by the wipe, but there again, if the wipe and all the changes does not attract a larger player base in the end, we're going to be right back here again inside 6 months.
Oh yeah, not even 6 months. I'd say 3.
At some point, you've just released like your control over things, and like this is kind of where
it's a wiener dog.
You just play the game. And while they fiddle around with shit around you,
pretty much what I do is just play the game. I mean, I don't carry this to bed with me at night. I mean, what happens in this shit when I log off, I could give 2 fucks. I mean,
right? And until there's PvP and Atmo, and you lose your base because Legion comes and destroys it while you go to bed.
Exactly.
Exactly.
See,
but like we're not there yet, right? And that's some future shit. But like we all play the game in the current state. And I am ready for the current state of this game to change.
Yeah, it does need to change. I don't disagree with that at all, but it needs to change to a point that attracts a larger player base.
Yeah, well,
and right now there is no gameplay mechanic other than building, and that's not sustainable for the number of people that they want to bring in. There's no carrot on the end of the stick, man.
Yeah.
Keep a player around.
Point I would make to NQ that I'm sure a lot of you would agree with here is that the track record for NQ is that they have a whiteboard, and so the second this schematics is done, no matter what feedback we give them or however many people make tickets or forum posts or whatever, that their timeline is that schematics, okay, check it off, we're moving on to the next thing, and then we're stuck with a state of the game that just feels untenable. So what I would much rather prefer is they release the schematic stuff and then very soon, very shortly, make actual, tangible, verifiable, perceptible changes to that system, so that before moving on to the next thing, they tighten up the system that they just released.
And that's the problem. They release these big major game breaking changes, and they don't go back and make sustainable changes to them.
Guys, hold on 1 second. We're getting close to time to wrap up. We're actually gone way over what we were supposed to have gone tonight. Because normally we keep the Duts to 2 hours, and we're verging on,
This is more than a 2-hour situation.
3 hours.
There's been
15 seconds.
So,
Tracks on video.
Fight Master, you won 5 million Quantum. We're going to do one more raffle for the night, y'all. It's up for 10 million Quantum for 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes to enter. ! Raffle for 10 million Quanta.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, when we say this, pretty much every Dut is like most of the people here are really engaged shareholders. And so, like, you can't envy the guy that makes a decision that you pretty much assume 50% of the players are going to disagree with, and then instantly say, like, I'm taking my ball and going home. But the reality is that it's probably better to live in a kind of state of ignorance where it's like we want to have some feedback and we want to feel like our feedback was at least like read, understood, and responded to, right? And then after that, if they make a decision, then you just suck up and you live with it. But I don't necessarily feel like that process has been handled. But what I can tell you is that recently, especially with Ruby taking over as the new CM, that their engagement is up huge, right?
Like, their engagement is there, but the change is
not. Yeah, but engagements is a really good place to start, right? Because, like I said,
well, let me rephrase that a little bit. They did seem to take a little bit more engagement and response with the market or with the exchange. They tried to make a big deal around it and engage the community and bring everybody into it. Whether they listen to much of the feedback from the beginning, I don't know.
I'm not even sure like they even have to listen to us so much as I just hope they're looking at some numbers somewhere that we have no idea.
I wouldn't say it's a matter of them having to listen to us, but we are the driving player base at the moment, so it would behoove them to listen to some of what.
Okay, Smallville, did that help?
Yeah, yes. But like I said, I would rather I much prefer like
Top Hat, not Popat.
Steps in the right, Top Hat, not Popat, but steps in what the right direction is from our perspective, which is just in general, we want to see DU succeed because we're also heavily invested, even if it's just a time investment. That at the end of the day, what the joke is ready for release or whatever, but like we're really scared, and out of fear comes kind of that toxic attitude of like we're really afraid for the future of this game because we're so heavily invested, and that leads to like some really like deep rooted opinions.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't care.
I just want to add something that
it doesn't exist. I mean, I've got time invested. I don't have the multitude of ships built that a lot of y'all have bases, but it's just time invested that I've spent learning and doing what I have. And to me, for it to fail 6 months down the road, a year down the road, whatever, I feel a loss because I'm not going to say I feel like I wasted my time because I enjoyed the time that I was here, the friends that I've made. So there's more to it than just losing the game. You lose the friends.
I do want to add something that somebody said earlier that I was just kind of thinking about mulling around. When people are saying they're not making the game for us, they're making it for future people. Unfortunately, right now, we're what they have. And even though they may not like or I feel like they should take what we say to some. They don't have to take everything, but at least consider what they say or make it feel like they're considering
it's our voices that are going to bring new players in. You've got new players in chat right now, and I've seen at least one tonight, and I've seen it other times. One person say, "Well, they've sat here and listened to us for 3 hours. Well, I'm probably not going to start playing now, so I'll just wait." It's not that we're being negative. We're just explaining to them what the game state is right now, and it doesn't seem appealing to them. Does that mean the guy next to him's not going to find it appealing? Very well may.
Smallville, there's
player base,
other ones inside.
We're the word of mouth that are going to bring new players in right now because they don't have an advertising campaign. So it's this stream and other streams that we run that get to the new players. And if we don't have good, positive feedback to give them,
man, honestly, I don't think we matter at all, because we are not we don't represent a large enough base to even support one developer, let alone the team.
But I mean, this is what they have for advertisement. Right?
It doesn't matter. If this is all they have, they might as well just shut it down, right? Because what
they've been advertising the hell out of this game.
100,000 players.
And you're not going to have that overnight.
That's an NQ problem, right?
That starts small, though.
Actually, technically speaking, that isn't our problem.
Decisions made by them, not the players. They left because of decisions NQ made.
Next floor up smalls and you're done.
Schematics in the implementation.
I mean, it wasn't just schematics though. There's been 3 different instances now where they have said or made a decision that have kicked half the player base away.
Oh yeah.
And one of them wasn't even an update. One of them was just a pure announcement of a word we won't mention.
That we've only mentioned 1,000 times tonight already.
What I'll say to that is, it sucks to fucking drive the boat, because at some point you're gonna fucking crash into an iceberg. It's like in WoW, there's so many assholes that think they're the best fucking raid leader in the world, but the amount of effort that goes into running a successful guild and having a successful raid where people actually show up, that's a lot of work. And so like at some point, if you're not in charge of the boat and you're kind of just along for the ride, you can kind of have like an opinion on it, but you just have to live with the decisions that people make. And if it's fun for you, then keep being fun. And if it's not, then it's, there's times in your DU career that you probably should have taken a break, but you didn't. Because I can tell you from personal experience, a break helps a lot.
And to that point, like you said, it doesn't.
I agree.
That we really probably don't matter.
Okay, I hate to do this, but we gotta start closing up for the night.
How many times has NQ come to us directly and said, "We need y'all's opinion"?
Hey, crazy.
Let's wrap this up.
Guys, hold on. We gotta start getting this wrapped up for the night. I am going to do one thing for Agent. He did say to remind people that there is a build contest going on. That is a link to the Discord channel to where the build contest is listed. This is the build contest for the center design at Atlantis. If you're interested and you want building sculptures or artistic things in game, click that link. Look at the Discord announcement, and it'll give you all the details for it.
Who won the raffle?
The last raffle. Well, we haven't pulled the last raffle. That was the other reason why I was doing it. The 10 million goes to Vela de Ache.
Congrats.
Okay. Now, we've had a lot of very varied opinions and thoughts on things. But that's one thing we always have to remember when we're looking at this stuff and having conversations about this stuff. It's one of the primary rules of XPX is everybody's opinions and perspectives are based on the series of events that led them to where they are now. You play the game the way you're going to play the game, and how you play the game, the things that have happened to you in the game is how you're going to perceive things and how you're going to react to things. So when it comes down to it, we're all going to have very different perspectives. Even between two people that do the same thing, we're going to have different perspectives. That's just part of the gameplay. Right now, as players, our biggest thing that we have to do, especially streamers or people that are, trying to be a public face in some ways, if we want the game to do well, we have to focus on the positive aspects of the game. Yes, there's going to be things we're not going to like the devs are going to do. That's guaranteed. Because rule number 1 in programming is everything you do, 50% of the people you're going to piss off. That is the standardized rule of thumb to go by when it comes to development. Half the people are not going to like it. And there's no way to get around that.
Exalt people all the time.
Yeah, you have to be
Also,
focused
if you
on an end
idiot-proof
goal.
something, they'll just build a better idiot.
Yeah,
Exactly. There's always a better idiot.
But you have to keep in mind the developer, a programmer's perspective when they're developing a program. They have to do things in a certain order, in a certain way, to make the final picture. It's kind of like painting. You can only put certain colors and certain textures on in certain places at certain times in the painting. If you do them at the wrong time, it's going to fuck up.
I just gotta say, man, all the people who put a lot of effort into getting schematics, it better not dick them.
I understand that, but
we gotta take these streams very serious.
Yeah, it still comes down to the fact of, do you enjoy the game? If you actually enjoy the game, and you want to see the game do well, yes, that's on NovaCorp for doing things that are best in the game's best interest. But it's also on us as players. We have to, one, accept the fact that we're not looking at the same picture NovaCorp is. We can have all the opinions we want in the world, but they are aware of things that are coming down the road that we don't even have the slightest concept that it's even in planning. They are aware of mechanics in the game that we don't even know exist yet. So there's a lot of things they're planning around that we don't even have the slightest concept that are even in play. Because they're looking 10 steps down the road. We're looking at how is this going to affect me now. Those are two very different perspectives.
Serapis, I would disagree on one point. I don't think it's just looking at now, because they're looking at what happens after wipe on release. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. The devs are planning. Yeah.
But I wouldn't say we're just looking at how it affects us.
Yeah,
now.
but you don't understand what I'm saying. In terms of goals, this game is designed to be a game that lasts 10, 20 years. Even if you're talking about, that's what it's designed to do. Whether it does or doesn't, that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to have a gameplay that keeps players playing this game for the next 2 to 3 decades, like EVE Online has. That's their goal. So anything in the next 12 months is, how is this affecting me now? When you're looking at that kind of time perspective.
It's just a building simulator.
Right now, all it is a building simulator with a little bit of PvP and industry.
Yep.
And
so that's not going to be appealing to a huge mass.
So how much more are they going to be adding to this game that we don't know about? There has to be more coming. If there's not more coming,
they're gonna have to bite the bullet at some point. At some aspect of PvE, they're gonna have to.
Yeah, I really think they are. And part of me wonders if it's going to come down to the point where the company ends up getting bought out and somebody else does it. And I really hope it doesn't come to that, because some of the NQ staff, I really like them. They're amazing people. I just hope that they can understand the concept that if you don't give the players what they're looking for in a game, you're not going to have the player base. Because that's what I
was getting at. I mean, they could want a game to last for 30 years and have all these great ideas, but if we don't like it, we're not going to stay.
Yeah, but give me a second, I want to get there. When it comes down to the persistent gameplay, you have to have all dynamics of gameplay in place. The reason why EVE Online has done so well and has still survived with a really good player base at this time is the fact that if you want to build stuff, if you want to mine, if you want to shoot random little rats and belts, if you want to do missions, if you want to do storyline or lore, there are so many different aspects of gameplay that you're able to enjoy that game and hang out with your friends, even if they're enjoying that game as a completely different game. You could have 2 people in the same voice channel playing the same game on the same server in such drastically different manners that it's like they're not even playing the same game. That's
not that doable.
It is if you add in the aspects of PvE.
What I'm saying right now, it's not there in DU.
It's not. Now. There's several systems they need to have in place. There's no out. There's no.
To me, you can't refine what you have in place now. What limited game loop there is, refining that to almost perfection or whatever, and releasing the game and saying we're going to add this stuff later. That's not going to attract a player base. They're not going to come and play until that's in the game.
Yeah.
Can I make one plea?
What's up?
And I know this might irk some people, but in my opinion, I see that if they're trying to develop a game that will be more sustainable down the road, that's supposed to last a few years or decades or whatever the case may be, I would suggest that they pull away from taking aspects of already well-written games like Eve and putting in this game. Use more original ideas and concepts.
Yeah.
Not a copy of another system.
Which already irks people, by the way.
Exactly.
But that's the point. But the thing is you want a game that's sustainable? Make a game that is original.
Yeah.
Do not detract from that originality. That's why some games have lasted for so long.
That's the reason why Eve has lasted.
They already have that
Yes.
system perfected, and you can't copy it.
Yes, you have a formula like Eve, WoW, Ultima, freaking Final Fantasy, stuff like that. That is already sustainable as an original piece of art.
If I want to play a game like Eve, I'll go play Eve.
Right.
My
Play
other thing is
something better.
if they
or
took
do
out the
something better.
voxel of this and you had building like Eve or Star Citizens, how many people would
Right.
still actually be playing this game?
This is true.
No.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying though.
That
If
that
they
is
wanted
the
to
only
make an
aspect that
original-
keep us here. And
That's
right
the
now they're
only
copying.
plea I have for NQ. That's the only serious plea I have for NQ. Stop stripping ideas from another system.
Especially
Bring
a
your
system
own
that,
brain.
Yeah, especially a system that's already pissing people off.
It doesn't even matter. I'm just saying. We already have these games. We know these games. We don't want these games. That's
Eve
not why
system
we're
doesn't
there.
piss me off. I don't mind.
But it's a different game, and when you're here, you're not wanting to play Eve. You're wanting to play DU.
I'm playing DU. I'd like to play some DU. I don't want to play Eve. I don't want to play
If I wanna
Star,
play- if I wanna play
Star
Eve, an
Citizen
Eve-like
or
game, I'll go
Engineers
play
or any
Eve.
of that. I
Yep.
wanted to play this.
Okay, guys, it is midnight. I gotta get up at 5 a.m. So, it's that time of night.
It's 1 a.m. and I got to get up at 6. What's your
I'll probably be
Point
up
is,
earlier than that.
We should all be going to sleep.
What's
That's
sleep?
not gonna happen.
Sleep.
What's sleep?
Is there anybody else streaming DU tonight?
Probably not.
No.
Oh, Vamp will stay up all night streaming.
Okay,
Come on,
so
Vamp.
who you guys want to raid?
Ooh, it's 6 a.m. I just got up exactly.
Physics, nice.
Who you guys want to raid tonight? You got. Hey, how about we go do Drew? She's playing Minecraft.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, sure. She'll be wrapping up soon, but that's all
Give her a
good.
bounce with
Hey,
it.
y'all.
Nice thing to say. I am Cornholio. I need TV for a local.
Just sit here thinking, just fix to say, what are you doing? Leo?
Okay, guys, we're gonna go raid Drew. She's an amazing streamer. She's raided us several times. Make sure when you get there, you refresh the channel, show her some love. She's an awesome young lady. Really fun to watch. Y'all take care. Have a good night. Bye bye, y'all.
Night, everyone.
Right.